each dent a scar. Lost in the rubble, but never too far. I'll keep searching no matter how marred. Mining memories in an old wrecking yard.
Welcome to the Wrecking Yard. I'm Jerry Wayne Longmire, and y'all are presumably still y'all. Everybody's welcome here in the Church of Internal Combustion. We just ask that you show up with an open heart. Before we get started today, I've got a very special guest in the studio, my good buddy David Doig. Y'all have heard stories and stories and stories about him, and he agreed to come over here and sit in my junky garage and chat with y'all. David is the guy. Like, if an alien landed in my backyard and his spaceship was broke down, this is the guy I would call. If a bus full of volleyball players broke down in front of I wouldn't call him. I'm pretty good with buses. Yeah, volleyball players. I wouldn't call him. I'm pretty good with buses. But if they had a spaceship, maybe. Before we get too carried away, let's talk about our sponsors. Of course, we want to thank Daniel Pulliam with Pulliam Training Stables, thetrainedhorse.com. They're out there in South California. They offer one-on-one experiences, no group classes. They have all kind of classes set up for kids with special needs and disabilities. They train horses. They're a mom and pop owned business. They have decades of experience. Y'all know I don't like horses, but I would probably get on one of Daniel's. Go to thetrainedhorse.com. And then, of course, always our dear friends at the Everyone Racers podcast. It's a podcast all about all types of amateur endurance racing for friends and sometimes teammates. Tell stories from the road and stories from all the Lemons races. And it's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to on the road. I catch up with them every time I have a long road trip. So you guys make sure you check them out. They're available wherever fine podcasts are available, such as the Wrecking Yard. So check them out. Everyone Racers podcast. Boom. Done. One take. I usually screw that up a couple times. I was nervous because I have a guest. I'm used to just out here talking to myself.
Well, I'm picking up that you have the taller seat, even though I'm a taller person. So it's that.
It's a power dynamic.
Exactly. You got that thing going on where it's like, oh.
That's my chair I film all the truck astrologies in, but I have a big board I put in it, like a big old piece of butcher block, because it sits too low for the camera. Yeah. I always feel like too sunk into it. So I got another chair over there, but I got to fix it. It was.
What we have to do is, all right, boys and girls, this is what not to do with your life.
Yeah. Do not spend your
public
days
service announcement
talking to yourself in your garage. But you know what? It's actually been good. Yeah. I can't complain. How have you been, Bubba?
Doing good. Busy.
Yeah, you're always busy.
Yeah, somebody a couple days ago said, man, I said, yeah, I haven't really done much. And they're like, yeah, I think you're lying. Yeah. You know, whatever day, but I don't think it's that much. But,
you're like, oh, what are you doing today? Oh, nothing. I mean, I went to the swap meet like 2 hours away and spent 4 hours combing through shit. I didn't get much. I bought a bunch of tools and stuff. I'm probably going to sell them. So I could, like, come over here and sell all this shit for me. I'm so tired of looking at it. I got my tools that I collected over the years of owning my company that I bought, and I have 3 sets of everything because my employees would lose them. And then I have my father's tools. He gave me his tools when he decided he wasn't going to work on things anymore, and then he's changed his mind about that and rebought all his tools since then. And then I have my grandfather Longmire's tools and my Papa Clark's tools and Rachel's great grandfather's tools and Rachel's Uncle Jerry's tools and some of her dad's tools. In here, and I'm like, I don't need this many tools. I'm not all I do is fix a broken Corvette clock every once in a while.
No, but tools is an addiction. It's something that we need. We feel good.
Well, I feel so. Like my grandparents left me cans of fasteners, and I'm just gonna leave my kids a garage full of tools that they don't know what they. I mean, I've got like old timing tools and shit you'll never use again. I got 4 timing guns. I had used a timing gun in 2 decades. I got 4 timing guns. I
recently used one, actually. Yeah, no, but
I keep thinking I'm gonna buy some old piece of shit, right. And then I'm gonna be like, boy, aren't you glad you got them 4 timing guns?
I collect cars that don't run, so we should get together. We can use your tools to fix my cars that don't run.
Yeah, we speaking of, so it's real funny. So Rachel's great grandfather built this house in 1953. It was a Montgomery Ward's kit house.
Man,
Like the kind they just show up on the truck. And
the Sears,
him and some of the neighbors built this damn thing, put it together. And they were Depression era folks, him and Granny. And there was like, well, you can still see all the mop sticks. Every time a mop would break, they would stick the stick up in the rafters in case they ever needed a good mop stick. There was like 8 mops up there. Everything, but say the funniest thing has been since we moved here, I'm just like, I'm going to use this stuff.
Yeah.
And every time I use it, it breaks. And then I have to go get the other one and it breaks. So everything has just,
anyway.
There was an old badminton set still in the thing. And it was so cool from like the 70s. And I was like, I could sell this or I could just set it up. Me and Judy could have a good time. So I set it up in the backyard. Me and Judy played on it for like 3 hours. The next day, the rackets were all warped and coming apart because they'd finally out of that box.
Yeah, but they were built in the 70s, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
The new stuff, it's like, in a week it's all warped. And,
It kind of reminds me of, so I just saw at Mecum auction, it was a 2000 model Chevrolet half-ton pickup, and it sold for $77,000 because it had 92 miles on it. I'm like, yeah, but you still have to replace everything on that truck.
Everything.
You can't sit a car like that long without it just going to shit.
So, so funny story. You know, I got a call a couple weeks ago. No, it was a couple months ago. And it was a deal. I bought a 1996 Chevrolet Impala that has 9,000 miles on it.
That's a big body?
That's the big upside down
look like the cop
looking,
car? Yeah. Oh, that's my favorite.
Oh, man.
I love
And it's, got all the paperwork done. You know, it doesn't run because the fuel pump went out.
Because it's been
Because
sitting.
it's, and it's 30 years old.
Yeah.
No, they would start it every couple of weeks, and stuff. It was a father-in-law, actually, the family that contacted me about it. It was a buddy of mine's brother and his now wife. They were, girlfriend and boyfriend, high school sweethearts. And her dad bought that car when they were in high school. And I remember the car, so I got to go pick it up. But, there's a good chance it'll end up in Mecum, and let's hope for $77,000.
Let's hope for some big money. Well, those cars are high demand, though.
Yeah, everybody says that owns one.
Yeah,
but I see them for sale a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
I had not noticed them. I guess here in recent years I've been seeing them pop back up, but it seemed like for a while you couldn't touch them very cheap.
I think that was in that era with the Corvettes and the Impalas and the 454 SS trucks and the pace car and all this stuff where people were buying these cars and squirreling them away, like the old 78 Corvette conundrum. Like, if everybody buys the collector car and then puts it in their garage on jack stands with 0 miles in it, they're all the same. Then they don't.
John Clay Wolf bought that barn full of old Corvettes, and all of them had like 12 miles on them and everything. It wasn't like a barn; it was like a nice building, climate controlled and everything. But they literally had to go through every one of those cars, all the rubber, the door seals, everything.
Oh yeah,
the wheels were seized up. They had to go through the wheels, everything. I mean, he broke it down for me what he spent on every car, and he's like, "I'm gonna make money on 3 of them." Yeah, right. The rest of them, but they were like, it was like one of them was like a 1980 convertible, and it was like one of 300 made.
1980, yeah, I was gonna say that'd be conversion, yeah, like this is California conversion.
Yeah, it was just they were weird cars, but it was this dude who was in the Dixie Mafia, and this dude would go out, and every time he bought himself a car, he'd buy 2 of them. And he'd set one in that shop, and that was his money in the bank one day. If I ever need to cash in, he's in prison, and his wife cashed in. He died in prison, and his wife cashed in. And when they went to pick up the cars, the son had got mad and come over there and stole a bunch of the wheels off the cars and all kinds of shit. So they had to go over to the son's house and be like, "Well, you just sell us the damn wheels. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with these Grand National wheels? You don't have a Grand National. Can we have the wheels back, please? Have sakes, Yeah, that's a trip to me how everybody thinks they're getting those deals on those cars, and I'm like, you're going to have to go through that whole Sun 50.
Yeah, I think it depends on how it's taken care of. This car was started, and it hasn't been started in a couple months, 3 months when the fuel pump went out right before I bought it, and it was more of a deal where he was, everybody wants to give peanuts for it, and it's like, I'll give you what you're asking.
Give you a fair price.
Yeah, wife wanted a new car. They wanted to put a down payment on the Toyota RAV4 for the family, and they had this Impala, which I think would be the better family car.
Yeah.
But, what do I know?
So you're going to sell it? You're just going to sell it?
Yeah.
Keep it.
Don't tell anybody. No.
There's definitely not a car for sale.
We're gonna cut that out. No, but yeah, I don't know. That's what they, she wanted the RAV4 SUV, and they had this car sitting there for her father-in-law that had passed years before, and wasn't doing them any good.
David's the one that when I see him a picture of Mom's Volkswagen, he says that's not a project, that's a Homerian Odyssey. And he's right. Now that they've drug it out of the woods,
but
I feel bad for making them drag it out of the woods. I'm like, I'm gonna bring it down here. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna keep some parts off of it or something.
I'm all for it. I think
I think I'm gonna make a Volkswagen.
Hopes and dreams. You know what I mean? You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna chop it up, and make a Volkswagen.
There's enough out there that you just need to find a rolled over bug and just kind of take the body, put it on. I've seen a lot worse.
Oh yeah, you can do that, but I really think I'm just gonna throw an alternative drivetrain in it and just have some electric. Fun with it. Just be something stupid. Just have fun with it,
I've been wanting.
I was actually thinking like a little supercharger, like an EcoBoost V6 in the front, because everybody puts the V8 in the front, right. But man, if you had like a 400 horse EcoBoost up there, that little thing would boot and scoot. It'd be kind of fun.
And I'm not a diesel fan. But the little 3-cylinder Kubota out of the street sign,
yeah.
Something like
that would be fun. I wouldn't even mind that, especially if I could put one of them little toppers on it.
Yeah. Well, then we get her together. That'd be more like a girl car. We get Flatbed Fred together. Maybe they'll make something.
Maybe we can put something together out of the two of them. So we always talk on here about, this podcast started because I was trying to figure out what made me a car person, where that spark started. You've been involved in cars since you were very, very young. I've heard a lot of the stories, but they haven't. What was your first car?
My first car was a 71 Chevrolet truck.
What year was that?
That I had it?
Yeah.
That would have been, bought it when I was 15
You're a little bit
years
younger
old.
than me.
Dad got it, came home. I came home from Boy Scout camp, summertime, and it was in the driveway. And it would have been 1995, 94, 95, 94-ish. Yeah, I got it $2,500 because the guy couldn't get the misfire to go away. And if you had that truck today, of course, I totally screwed it up. Primer fenders, and I'm going to change the color, and I, putting motors with too big of a cam in it and all this stuff. But that was the cleanest truck still to this day I've ever seen. It was $2,500. And we spent about 6 hours the day when I came home and had that thing running perfectly. The misfire was just spark plug problem. Yeah.
So is it 71?
71.
Oh, it's Action Line. I love those trucks. Those are my favorites. Those are some of my favorite GM trucks.
I hated it at the time because it's the orange, whatever they call it. But it's like the baby poop yellow with the white stripe. And I remember my dad told me, he's like, man, you'll really dig this truck one day. And I had different color fenders. I was going to paint it red at one point and blue. And, it ended up just looking like I made it really into a hodgepodge of different colors at some point. And now I have the cab off the body. I still own it. It's still,
you still have it.
Still
have your first. That's a rarity.
I still own my first truck. I am sentimental when it comes to cars. The body's off the frame currently. I shortened the frame to make it a short bed, all that sort of stuff. And I'm going to go LS 6-speed because I've got the stuff laying around. And one day, I think it's going to be black and white. But I love now when I see that
crazy old color,
that baby poop yellow and white. I just bring something back.
I
love it.
Damn it.
I love it.
There's a lot of stuff I like now I didn't like. It's funny to me, this thing we're going through right now, because the current group of car kids or car dudes, maybe in their young 30s, are going nuts over the ugliest pieces of shit from the 80s that we just I never gave two shits about a square body truck. We used to buy them for $500, run the damn wheels off of them, put them in my Uncle Larry's yard, and then steal parts off them for the next one we bought. And me and my cousin Shane, I don't know how many of them trucks we went through. Me, him, and Tommy LaBeouf went through a mess of them, though.
I don't doubt that. I remember, we had one. That was our family truck growing up, was an 84 brown on tan square body. So to me, it was like, I get the sentimental. I wouldn't mind having I always say everything I want is going to be a daily driver. I wouldn't mind having a 55 Chevrolet daily driver. It's not really practical. It's not going to happen unless it's a wagon, maybe.
Or rest them on.
Yeah, whatever. But I say, I would like to have a 4-wheel drive, short bed 4-wheel drive, not lifted, not big truck, just, some 31 1050s on it, just a little bit nice, just a nice, heavy
Just a
duty
good
truck.
runaround.
Good runaround truck. But that brown and tan truck, I had a lot of good memories in it. And a lot of memories when I opened the door one day, cruising down the highway, my sister fell out. So there's, there wasn't a lot of safety.
Did you go back and get her?
Yeah. Dad stopped in the middle of the highway, picked her up, threw her in, and then I just said, I didn't do it. I don't know what happened. I don't think we wore seatbelts in that, during that time. But I also remember coming back from a swap meet. Pretty sure Dad had been drinking heavily, and we ran through some construction barriers and dented the hood pretty bad. But whatever.
I for a while I had this old. It was a Dodge. It was like a 1980 model Dodge, 3/4 ton, small block 360. Me and Dad had gone through the AJ. It was a good running pickup. So where my grandmother's house was, where the wrecking yard was, there's this little road called Sexton Road, and it's this curvy little downhill number, and then got to the dirt road that went to her house, and then driveway and everything. And then there was a separate driveway went up the wrecking yard. Well, up at the top of Sexton Road, it meets Highway 42, and so they were doing some construction stuff on Highway 42 right there in front of the school. And I come home from the beer joint one night. It was me and Uncle Bobby. Uncle Bobby was in the passenger seat. We had left his truck somewhere because he was gone. He had his Yukon Jack over there. He just doing his thing, and I had too much of the Yukon Jack, and so we were coming home on the oil lease roads because we were trying to stay off the road.
Well, we had logging roads, but not where I grew, but in my late 20s, early 30s, we do the logging roads out, Richards. Yeah.
Well, so up East Texas, all these oil leases, and then there's just a little dirt, and the county goes out and grades them every once in a while. Yeah. And so we were come down off that dirt road where there's just a little stretch of 42 that you have to get onto to get to Sexton Road to get to Granny's house. And after that, you're safe, bro. You're safe.
Safe. You're good.
So we jumped on to 42, and I remember Uncle Bobby saw all those barrels. He said, I bet you can't go in and out of them barrels like them downhill skiers, that slalom shit. And I was like, hell yeah. And I did it perfect.
A great idea. Yeah.
We're in that Dodge, and I was, rup, 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 rup. We get to Granny's house, go to bed. Next morning, there's a knock on the door. It's a sheriff's officer, but he's kind of a friend of the family's. Like he knows everybody in the family. Kind of grew up from Uncle Bobby and stuff. And he said, Jerry Longmire, what time did you come home last night? I said, well, it's about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. We went. Bobby was playing at one of the beer joints and went up there to watch him play. And then we come home. Didn't mention anything, but. He said, yeah. He said, how far in the bag were you when you left Kilgore? I was like, no, not me. Sir, I'm underage. I'm underage. I'm Pentecostal.
Yeah.
My parents.
I was at church all last night. Yeah.
And he said, he goes, son, I'm going to stop you right there. Do you remember hitting that orange barrel? And I go, no. I mean, I saw some up there on the highway, but why would I run over a barrel? That seems pretty stupid. He goes, it does seem pretty stupid, doesn't it? Hell, he's leading me, bro. And I'm just like, yeah, I mean, it sounds like, what kind of idiot would do that? Yeah. He says, I'm going to give you one chance to stop lying to me. He said, you come clean right now, or we're taking a ride, you and me. And I go, yeah, I might have hit a barrel. I said, oh, Bobby dared me to go in between the barrels, and I thought I did a pretty good job. He goes, oh, you did? I go, yeah. He goes, step out here. And I go out there, and there's like 3 of those barrels down the dirt road, and there's still one wadded up under the truck in the driveway. And he goes, here's what you're going to do. You're going to get your ass in that truck, and you're going to take all them barrels back up there, and you're going to knock all the dents out of them, and you're going to post them back up on that construction site. And I spent all day putting them barrels back up while the guys working out there just laughed and cut up. But I'll never forget what he said. I'm going to give you one chance. Stop lying to me. And I was like, I'm cooked. He knows something I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Every time I find, they're like, you have one chance. Then it's like, finally, okay, I'll tell you the truth. And then I end up going to jail. So I don't I teach my kids, just when you start with it, just
deny. You know, that's actually what my lawyer told me after my marijuana bust when I got popped for marijuana in Montgomery County. He said, he goes, "Did you tell him it was yours?" I go, "Well, yeah, I didn't want Joey to get in trouble." And he goes, "Jesus Christ, Jerry, why'd you even hire me?"
What are you doing? What are you doing?
He goes, "Next time this happens, you don't know whose it is. You don't know where it come from. You don't even know what it is."
Yeah. At 18 years old, I think probably something like that. That was the advice my lawyer gave me for a fictitious display of a government document, which means my
tags, bullshit tags.
No, my buddy rolled his Isuzu truck, and my short headers couldn't pass inspection, so I just took the sticker off his windshield, stuck it to mine. And after like the fourth time, he's like, "Tell me the truth." I did, and then I went to jail, and I was kind of like, man, over at the time I think it was like $7 inspection sticker, and he's like, "Well, yeah, because you lied to me," and I was like, "Oh,
I should have kept lying.
You wouldn't have known."
I would have never. Yeah, I got popped with. We got lucky on that. So when we were doing my El Camino back in high school, they had lost the title for that El Camino. So Papa had like 3 of them.
Right.
So we just went and took the VIN number and everything off one of the other El Camino. Same year and everything, same car basically. And we put it on there and we titled it and everything. And I had a cop one night who just happened to have laser eyes. And he was standing there and he was looking down at that VIN number. He goes, "Who changed this VIN plate?" And I was like, it's riveted in there from the factory.
Yeah.
He goes, "No, General Motors has special rivets on them." And I was like, "It is." He goes, "Yeah." I had to get my dad, and my dad had to like come out there, and they ended up letting it go. But man, it was a tense. It was a tense hour on the side of the road.
That's a sore subject for me. The whole revinning, and with like some of the, I had a 71 Blazer recently I sold, and I want another, I want to get one of the bodies from California, and build basically a brand new one. But I want it stock, but just so many of those trucks, the crazy price they're getting that are just ridiculous, and which is why I sold mine. But I want a nice truck. And there's so many ones that have rotted away. Like, why won't they just give us the VIN numbers? What is really the big deal? They make it so difficult. So
to title anything in this state.
To title it, and it's just like, hey guys, I'm dealing with that with a truck right now, and they're like, "Oh, you have to inspect it. It has to be running." It's like, I don't really want to get it running and do this. Spend $50,000 on a project for you to go, "Oh yeah, that VIN number that's a stolen VIN or something." It's like, why can't I just take a body up there that I found in the woods and go, "Hey, can I title this? Is it stolen? No, it's not doing anybody else any good." It shouldn't be a big deal.
It's just stupid at this point. We went through all that shit with that Cadillac last year, year, and that dude was going to charge me like $3,000. And what I ended up doing was, I just sold the Cadillac to Rachel.
Yeah.
For like $300, and she applied for a bonded title, and then we got the bonded title. But
I've had some problems with stolen cars. That 71 Blazer got stolen one time, I do. Oh, you don't remember that? I was right after the Camaro got stolen. It was like 3 months later.
I remember the Camaro getting stolen. In
I was like, man,
trailer.
I can't. Oh, I got so yeah.
The trailer's one that pissed me off.
3 or 4 trailers stolen. Yeah, and so I understand. It's like, man, how come you can sell 3,000 trailers on Marketplace without a title? But you go to a hot rod meet with a restored car, and they're like, "Oh, your rivets are wrong. We need to impound your car so we can inspect it." It's like, hey, I can show you all the paperwork and all the love I put into this thing. So I think it's misdirection.
Yeah, I think when you spend $30,000 building a car, at that point the car's yours.
I get the problem with the your 2022 Silverado gets stolen, and some rats changing VINs and doing all this and selling it to some or renting a Hellcat and putting stickers on it, make it look different.
Boy, them Hellcats get stolen left and right, dude. I was looking at some numbers in Georgia and Atlanta, and like them Hellcats, like you got to put your own tracking device on that son of 50. It's going to disappear, man.
Yeah,
it's kind of wild beast. When I was in Tennessee, when I was in Memphis, they had this group. I think it's Kia. They were calling them the Kia Boys. And they had learned how to hack the Kias.
They messed up. Yeah, you don't need the key.
Yeah. So these guys were running around just taking everybody's Kias in Memphis.
But then they leave them on the side of the road because you can't do it. What do you care? Who wants the Kia?
They found a bunch of them in the river.
Find them like 3 days later. Yeah. Like, oh, yeah. Go pick up your Kia. It's over on 269.
I only ever had one car stolen. I had my '86 Mustang. My Fox body was stolen, and God, they pissed inside it. They kicked the windshield out. They just tore shit up for the sake of tearing shit up. It was like a hate crime. It wasn't even like they wanted the car. They just dogged the shit out. They didn't tear up the engine. They did tear up the clutch. They tore that thing would rip a clutch out anyways. Yeah. So I think what happened is they blew the clutch out and then got pissed and just started destroying the car. But the interior was just trash. Yeah. I was so pissed. I just I've never wanted to hunt somebody down more in my life. Like, steal my shit, but when you're done with it, just leave it alone, bro.
Why make it more work for me?
Why do you got to destroy it? Like, what is that about, man? That's just chicken shit behavior, man. 71. That's a hell of a. So my first truck was a 72 F100.
Yeah,
a little different time frame. About the same in the early 90s. That's the thing to me, though. And you and me have talked about it, but so all the stuff I love is really old. 50s and 40s and even early 60s, and all that stuff is coming way down in price right now. And I'm like, hell yeah. And I saw a 49 Ford the other day, the bullet grill Ford coupe. Cool. And I guarantee his car had $100,000 and it sold for 18. And I was like, damn, I'm just gonna sock a little money away and buy some Boomer's resto mod.
The last couple of years, man, everything going resto rod, the 50s and the 40s, and especially a lot of the 20s and 30s cars, which I have a super fascination with. Anything 1900 to about 1930, early 30s, just the mechanical, the whole, what you had to do to prepare to go on a decent drive, and you got to change your timing. You had to understand what was going on to drive it, and and then you hear about these women drivers that, these girls are bad. They go out and they're doing all this. If you wanted to drive, that's what you had to do. And these girls are like, yeah, I'm doing it. And I think it was different than. It's just a different time. You had to get on your hat, your jacket, your coat, because all these spraying.
You needed driving gloves.
Yeah, you had to have the goggles.
There's a guy I follow on Instagram, and he just loves all things old. He goes by Dr. Parkenstein. I don't know if you've seen him. Shout out Dr. Parkenstein. He's awesome. But he has like a 28 Ford that is his daily driver, and he shows everything. But he's changed the head on it twice because it'll crack a head every once in a while. But he can get the parts for next to nothing for it and put it together.
Because everybody stuck a small block Chevrolet in them in
hot
1995.
Yeah, he had another one called a Hutton, I think. He has a couple of them out there, but he has like an old stove from the 30s in his house, and one of those pianos that plays itself, with the little strikers and all that stuff. But this kind of shit.
Yeah, I have a
David,
piano.
Like he has, if you go in his garage, it's a garage of wonders. You just don't know. You might find a radio off a Navy boat from the 1930s. You don't know what's in there.
I don't know.
I remember for a while you were going when they were. I'm sure some of y'all are familiar with what's his name, Hughes.
Oh, Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes. He's a Houston legend, right? But Howard Hughes had all these warehouses all around Houston that were just full of crap that he hoarded. And so David got the inside pick on when they were selling them off. So he was going over there and buying all this shit out of Howard Hughes' warehouse.
Man, that warehouse.
I had that big metal desk for a long time. I wish I still had it now. Yeah. I had sold it. And I wish I'd kept it.
I had those big metal postal sorting stations I got from there. Man, they made great workbenches. But man, the deal when I was over at that warehouse going through, and the guy that was selling it was kind of he was real particular about who was going in there. And we were walking down these rows, and this had to be a 10,000 square foot warehouse, just rows of stuff. And I remember there was this one aisle, and it had all this, Takumish or whatever, the little lawnmower parts.
Tecumseh.
Okay, that's how you say it. But they're all in this shelf, and he walks by and he goes, "Damn it, those guys stole that stuff." And I was like, "How would you even know if anything's missing? There's just all these everywhere." He's like, "God, this is like $20 worth of stuff." He's like, "Are you interested in any of this?" I was like, "No, I don't do the lawnmower thing." But he had safes, and there was like 5 safes, and this is where the gambler in me at the time. 5 safes, and 3 of them weren't opened. They didn't have combos, and these are huge. They had to be, they're whatever. And there was like one side of it was open, and it's concrete door this thick, and all these safes from like the late 1800s. And man, I was just, my back was good enough back then. I was like, man, I think I could get one of them home. And I didn't end up doing it, but I still dream about the millions of dollars and all the vintage firearms and all that stuff that was in that safe that I passed up.
Yeah, Mr. Bob tricked my old business mentor. He had a bunch of houses and stuff. Mr. Bob tricked me one time. Mr. Bob said, I've lost a combination of that safe. It's a big old square, one of those old concrete safe, older from the 80s or whatever. And he said, I've lost a combination of the safe, Jimmy Jerry. He always called it Jimmy Jerry. Jimmy Jerry, I've lost a combination of the safe. He said, but I'm getting ready to sell this house, and we need to move everything out of this house. I was like, well, what do you want to do with this safe? You want to take it over to a new house? He said, you know what? He said, you haul that safe off and you can have whatever's in it. And I was like, yeah, boy. I got a couple of my guys over there. We load that son of a bitch up on that 1-ton Chevrolet. And I think it rode in the bed of that truck for about 2 weeks because I needed some help to unload it. And I finally got the guys to help me unload it, and I started tackling it. First I tried the safe cracker method.
Oh yeah. No.
And I forgot I'm deaf.
Yeah,
I didn't get anywhere with that. I had a stethoscope.
Watching a bunch of too many movies.
Yeah, I tried safe cracking it. I never could get anywhere with it. And then I went after it with a sawzall.
I say it was a sledgehammer now.
And me and the sawzall did pretty good. We cut through one of the main bolts before I burned up about 3 blades. And so then I got a carver under blade on a grinder and went after the hinges. And the hinges actually cut pretty easy. I cut the hinges right off the damn thing, but it was still stuck because of the damn bolts over there. So I eventually we pried it. I had Cody and one of the other kids, and we stuck a big old Santa Angelo bar in there and just pried it open. And I was so pumped it come open. I was like, hell yeah. And it was a stack of looked like paperwork and envelopes. I was like, hell yeah. It was all insurance paperwork from the 80s and shit on one of Bob's houses. I was so pissed at him. I took that shit over his house. I was like, here's your paperwork out of your dumb safe. He goes, wasn't nothing in there. I said, nothing worth a damn, Bob. Just insurance paperwork. Yeah.
I don't know what happened to all those gold coins then. Yeah.
But I wish I could bottle the feeling I had before I got it open.
Right.
Because if you could sell that to people, you'd make money hand over fist all day long if you could bottle that feeling.
It'd be the greatest drug that you ever had. Yeah.
There might be something in here.
The wonderment of, well, for somebody like us, the wonderment of what kind of magic is in here. It reminds me of a kid,
Are there gun parts?
Yeah,
what's in there?
My
favorite thing when I was a kid and they would drag new cars into the wrecking yard was when they would pop the trunk
to dig through it
and dig through the car, and sometimes there'd be toys and all kind of neat stuff in those cars. Fishing tackle. I got my tackle box is one of the tackle boxes that came out, one of those old Chevrolet Biscayne, and it just had this cool old school tackle box. And Papa helped me set it up and equip it. Man, I thought I was going to get to take Junie fishing this week. Well, our friends rented a place at Lake Travis. But it's like a week-long rental, and they got to go back to Dallas for the week. Okay. So they're like, hey, man, $150, and you guys can take it for 3 days. And it's like right on the lake and a little condo or something, I'm sure. And so I was all excited, but now it's supposed to be like 25 degrees and 20 degrees. Nice. And I'm like, crap, man, because Junie's really been itching to go fishing. And I've been wanting to I bought a new rod and reel and a little Zebco, old school. It was like, I'm not even going to fish. I'm just going to help them fish, that kind of thing. Noah has no interest in it whatsoever. He didn't give 2 shits about it. But
maybe if you bring in a fish,
I said, man, you want to go fishing? He goes, that's ridiculous. I can't go fishing. I've never caught a fish in my life. I go, what are you talking about? And so Rachel kept pressing him, and he goes, I've been fishing. And she was like, when? And he goes, when I was like 1. And it was one day we took that boat out, and we took the kids out on the boat, and me and Junie were fishing, and a little eidetic memory on this.
Remembers when he was 1 and he went fishing?
He remembers the crazy. I'm sure he's just seen pictures of it, and he's built that memory in his head. But that dude, he will tell you, he does this thing. Well, he's autistic. He does this thing called info dumping, where he just comes up and tells you everything he knows about a subject, and you have to let him finish, because if you stop him or interrupt him, he's going to start over.
Oh,
But he would come up and he's like, "Hey, did you know Cars came out in 2000? I don't know the dates, but 2002, and then Fox changed their logo to this, and then Pixar changed their logo to this, and this year, and then this movie came out, and he get every animated movie for the last 20 years. He can tell you exactly
yeah,
what
really?
day it came out, what logo the production company was using. He's real fixated on logos. It's the wildest shit, but he's going to tell you all of it at one time. You just got to ride it out. And go, okay.
Okay, cool.
In old days, I tried to distract him or change the
Now
subject,
it's better, yeah,
but then he
shut
just
up.
starts over. So I'm like, shit, we're just got to ride this out, bro. This is the way it is.
God
But then
damn.
a lot of times, the car guys on my page, I suspect they are autistic because
I think, yeah.
I think those fixations ride with it, just like a lot of autistic people like trains.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them are into cars.
Yeah, I don't know. And it kind of always one of those things. It's like, man, I remember growing up at school, and I was always a Corvette guy. I grew up around Corvettes. Mom and Dad raced Corvettes and all this stuff, and worked on Corvettes. If you won all the races, and people had you work on their Corvettes. We didn't have any money, so to afford Corvette racing, we worked on a lot of cars. And but I remember being in like high school chemistry, and the teacher talking about something about fiberglass. Oh, that's why new Corvettes are fiberglass and the old ones are metal. And I'm just like, oh no, not right. And or people say, hey, what year? A buddy of mine says, hey, yeah, let's take David over to this barn, and they'd be picking up stuff, and they'll be like, oh yeah, this is the windshield washer pump on a '55 Buick.
Oh no.
And they're like, and he's like, oh, David will be able to pick like most of these parts out and kind of give you an idea what they are. And I think it's one of those things, you're right, that it just sticks in your head, like the facts and the cool stuff, especially when you put your hands on those cars and the parts. And when you're working on like a 72 Ford truck or something, it's like, man, I could probably have one of those parts fall out of my pocket, and you'd be like, oh, that's the fender bolt, brace for a 72 F100.
I would recognize one of those little pins from the 3 on the Tree shifter
exactly,
from a mile away after having to dig through Tommy Von Ford's back
collar to
parts
be like, man, you know how hard it is to find one of those collars that's good?
I bought one of them collars new from Tommy Von Ford. They had a bunch of old parts in stock. And so when I had my truck, every once in a while we couldn't find a part at the junkyard, or it was a part that was always wore out when you found it at the junkyard.
They didn't repop anything, yeah.
So we would go down to Tommy Von, and I think I paid, and this was in the 90s, I think I paid $90 for that collar, and that was almost 2 weeks of working at the barbecue joint, to have an extra $100 to spend on that. And then the pin was like 30.
Well, especially I think back even now, like the forums I search for, my 70s Chevrolet trucks to get certain options and certain things, and these guys are going crazy over an original mirror that I'm going, God, that thing's rotted. They repop it. Like, why are you paying 3 times the amount? But that's they want that original.
What do you mean when you say repop? What does that mean?
Reproduction, like made in China or Tennessee or wherever. It didn't come on a truck in 1971. Or it didn't come in a GM box or whatever. So reproduction. And these guys go just pay ungodly amounts of money for this stuff, and I'm like, man, you can call up the classic truck supply and just get every single part for the thing now. But I think that's also part of their, like, this is my hobby and this is what I do. I find these old, the original parts, and I make them like new. And this truck is none of this is Chinese, tungstanium or whatever material.
Talking to this company, John Clay Wolf wants to build that truck with me. He wants to fund it. We want to build a truck for SEMA. This idea I have where I want to take I don't want to use a flower car or a hearse because that's been done to death, but I want to take a 66 C10. Well, it's not an El Camino. I want to take a 66 C10, and I want to take a 66 Cadillac front grille and narrow it and make it taller, make it fit the front of the 66 C10. I want a 66 C10 badged as a Cadillac with a LS in it, and I want the interior out of the Cadillac. I want it to be like,
sounds cool.
If Cadillac made a C10 in 66, what would the Cadillac see? And I want to take the fins off the back of the 66 Cadillac and just a subtle fin on the bed, kind of like the old swept side Dodges, the 57 swept side Dodge. Subtle, not big crazy, just subtle with a really cool tail light design
stuff.
But so I'm talking to this company that he uses that does all his drawings and his art for these concepts or whatever they're going to build, and they do for a bunch of custom car shops here in Houston and up and down Florida and shit. And they're really cool to talk to. But so I was talking to him, and I was like, I know the grill and the front end's going to be the hardest. It's going to be the biggest thing. And they're like, you realize there's guys now that can just CNC print that for you.
Yeah, really.
They can stamp you a grill in their garage.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys doing that, man. I see these, so I follow these guys that are, on my social media is like, man, this guy rebuilds Holly carbs for Fords, and I love watching it, and I appreciate that how technical the guy is. The guy, it's not like somebody in the garage just, went to O'Reilly's and bought him a carb kit and stuck it together. This guy's got like the little precision machinist rods, with all the sizes, and he's putting them in the holes to make sure nobody's drilled them out. Like, man, he understands, like, and what I dig, even though I don't understand half of it, like the carb circuits of how they work, and he's explaining why this passage, what it does, and why it goes here, and why you shouldn't fill it with epoxy like all the guys did back in the day. Like, every one of these I got to drill out, or whatever he does, and that technical is just so cool to me that this guy, that's his thing. But he's doing it in his garage. He quit his $250,000 a year, oil job, because and sits there and drinks beer and repairs carburetors. And there's so many guys that are doing this stuff in their garage and making a living, enjoying it, that it's the internet catches a lot of flack, but it's also created this basis for people to love what they do.
And to live their life.
Yeah, and
make a living.
Yeah.
Dude, I read about a guy, Barry Laminack was telling me about him on the road, because Barry just got a new 3D printer, and he's printing he was telling me, he goes, because for what you can get them for now and everything, he's like, you already get one. He goes, you could make license plate, Diamond Gem certified license plate covers or whatever, and sell them at your shows. That kind of stuff that would be more interesting to my fan base than a damn hat or a koozie. You know what I mean? Just some cool shit. But he was telling me about this dude that's got he started off with like 2 of them, and he started making these little wiring looms for Ford trucks, because he needed a wiring loom for his Ford truck. And then his friend asked, well, I need one for mine. I really like the way it looked. So he started making them and selling them on the internet. And now he's got like 6 of these damn 3D printers running all the time, some of them are making wiring looms. A little part, he went and looked for little parts that were hard to find. And then he got all the specs and had somebody write him a program for it. And now he's just making these little repo parts. Yeah. And the dude, basically, same kind of deal. He worked for Reliant and was getting ready to retire, and went ahead and retired early and took his pension and stuff. And he's just sitting at the house with these 3D printers going, making money hand over fist, doing a lot of drop shipping and all that. I don't
know if he's making money hand over fist, because most of those guys aren't making, they're not killing it. They're doing it because they love it, and they can sit at home and do it, and they can have, they can enjoy themselves more, that they realize, hey, the money of corporate America is not what I want my life to be anymore. I'm not just working for $1. I want to do this and enjoy it and help other people, and
I've been
and
happier since I left. There's been some broke times and some hard times. So we went through that shit when I was a contractor too.
Oh yeah, no
broke
doubt.
Times and hard. Except then my body was tore up and I was tired all the time and I was mad all the time. And I tell people now, they're like, well, you travel a lot. How's it on the kids? I'm like, yeah, I travel, but I'm home 60% of the time. When I'm home, I'm here. I'm here all the time. All day, and there's no disconnect anymore. When I was working construction, I never saw the kids. I got home 8, 9 o'clock at night, dead tired,
went to bed,
pissed off,
get up at 5
went to bed, get up at 5, go do it again, come home mad again. It was, I showed them a picture one time. Rachel took a picture of me one day, and I was walking up the driveway, walking in the house, and she took a picture of me to show me what I looked like.
Oh,
and it was just, I just looked like I want to hate kill something. It was just the worst. I'm like, this is how I was coming into the house every day, the kids and the wife, like these people that love me. This is how I was coming into the house every day. And like, good God, man, at least I smile now. I mean, I might get out here and cuss the audio and throw shit around the garage when the audio screws up on me, but we're not going to do that today, right? No. All right. These mics are better. The other mics I had started cutting out on me, and I was having all kind of issues with them. But everything's so cheap now.
Yeah,
You can just
I bet.
order
You just
this
order
crap.
whatever.
Those lights were like $40 on sale on Amazon.
I mean, as evil
10
as,
years ago, a set of lights like that would have cost you $300.
Probably more than that, yeah. Man, as evil as Amazon is, it does do some great things.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's Temu and there's all of them. You can dig right. You can find the deals.
I had to,
Amazon just a big swap meet.
Yeah, no, that's all it is. I order transmission parts on there all the time. Because
really?
You know what? A lot of times I can get it quicker than if I pay 4 times as much from the local supply house for a part. This morning I was, the CVT I built had a bad stepper motor. Man, this thing was garbage. They really got their money out of this thing. They drove it. I don't know how they drove it so bad, but they just kept going in that thing, and it had so much metal in it. I wanted to change all the electronics anyway, and got a bad one. So guys, the shop I was doing it for goes, this lady's sitting in the office waiting for it. They're like, well, that's your first mistake.
You should have done that.
It's not working. And he's trying to explain to me, and he's like, well, I got my master tech here, and he's going to tell you what he thinks wrong with it. Like, nah, you don't need to bother with that.
Bro, we're really just cutting hair right now.
Oh, yeah, here, get on the data. Tell me what this and this read. And they keep wanting to tell me all this other stuff. I'm like, all I want to know is this number. And so, but anyway, Amazon, stepper motor, from, $25, $35, whatever it is. Here Saturday morning, went over there, threw it on. Car's now operating, so it's.
What is a stepper motor? I'm not familiar with that.
So in a CVT, you get the big belts, constant variable, constant
velocity
whatever.
Or what?
Yeah, not velocity.
Variable.
What is it? Constant variable ratio, whatever. I don't remember the technical name, but and a lot of guys
ain't got no
with
gears.
Them. Yeah, it ain't got. It does kind of. It's got a low and a reverse.
It's like a cone.
Yeah, it's like 2 big pulleys with a belt that gets smaller and bigger, and makes an infinite amount of gear ratios. And anyway, the stepper motor on the earlier ones, I shouldn't say earlier because they're like 100-year-old design, but the early 2000s ones up until about 2013, they had this little arm that went to a mechanical valve, and the stepper motor would move, and it had a little lever, and then it moved the valves. So it was like had a checks and balances system. Now the newer ones are all computer, like computer program says where the fluid goes when it goes there, depending on inputs. But the older ones actually work better because it actually had a mechanical valve that when the stepper motor says, "Oh, I want to change ratio," the stepper motor moves a step. It's a little three-way AC motor, and it just spins a little screw, and then it moves that valve a little bit, which sends more fluid to this variator, which closes up and makes the little end and the big end change and gets a better ratio. And it's a really cool deal. But anyway, they get stuck a lot, and there's a possibility. You can't see it when you're putting the valve body in. I don't know. There's a possibility I've got it jammed in there when I put it in, but it's pretty low possibility.
I have a friend that old James next door swears by them CVTs. Everybody else is hating. He goes, look, if you just drain the fluid, he's like, you drain the fluid, just put more fluid in. He's like, I got a Nissan Murano out there. It's got 280,000 miles.
I'll tell you what, the Altima I just built 2010, and when I get a call for a 2010 Altima, I kind of like, what?
How did they have money?
Are you sure? Are you check it again? But
are you sure they don't need a passenger mirror?
Had 189,000 miles on this car, and I know what I charged them, and and they're pretty good people. They don't make a lot of money on their stuff, but I sell them a whole reman unit ready to go with a warranty, so they don't have a lot of liability. And just like this morning, if there's a problem, I'm over there pulling the valve on and changing the stepper motor and stuff. And but yeah, this car, I don't know. I don't understand why this person decides they're going to put this money in their 2010 Altima when
was it a clean ass Altima though?
No. It wasn't the worst I've seen, but it wasn't bad. It didn't have any hubcaps. That always, when you walk up to a car without any hubcaps, had those black steel wheels, you're like,
here we go. There was one down the street, parked down the street. I live in the hood, but there was one parked down the street on the street for a while, and every time I drove by it, if it had been moved, it had new damage to it. It was like one day I drove by and the passenger window was busted out and they had plastic bag taped over it. And I come by another day and there's a new color of paint and the passenger mirror's missing and there's like a stripe of paint on the car. And I'm like, what? And the last time I saw it, the back windshield was busted out and they had about 5 different colors of paint smeared on it in different places. I think, oh boy, was a little bit of a drunk. I think that was his
teenager car. You know, they make great teenager cars. You just, when you're done with it, you pick them up for $1,200. They kind of quasi work, and then, you know, in 6 months, when she hits everything down the street, then you just, you know, sell it to the junkyard.
We had that Nissan Murano belonged to Grandma, and I remember I called you about it. I go, should I keep this car? It's got 90,000 miles on it. It was like a 07. And I was like, should I just keep this car, use it for a little daily driver and comedy car? You're like, no, you should sell that car and get the money for it while you can now. And so we sold it. I sold it for $4,500, which I thought was a fair.
They're nice cars.
This one was clean. It was really clean. Grandma had taken care of it. And Uncle Jerry was a real big man. He drove it all the time. And the seat broke. Yeah, come apart. And so Nissan had put a brand new seat in it for him under warranty and everything because he was a big man. Yeah. He put the hurt on the seat. So I sold that car to that gal for $4,500, and I told her, she's like, "Well, my husband's a mechanic, and they were gonna dolly it home. No, they come put it on a trailer. They were going to trailer it home.
It did not run
up into East Texas. No, it ran fine, but she would just want to come. Yeah, she didn't want to drive it until her husband went through it. And I said, the car is a good running car. But don't suggest changing fluid or messing with the transmission because these things, the transmissions don't last very long. You should just drive this car and enjoy it and use it. She's like, no, my husband's a mechanic. He's already told me everything's going to do to it. I was like, okay, cool. So they get it home. I get a call from them 2 weeks later. Transmission's gone. And I was like, what happened? And she goes, well, my husband drained all the fluid and put all new fluid in the transmission. Now it won't move. And I was like, well, ask super mechanic what to do next. That is a as-is problem, lady. Right? Yeah. You've had the car for 2 weeks. I told you, just drive it. Just drive the piss out of it. Just drive the piss out of it. You might get another 100,000. I mean, you probably won't, but you might.
Yeah, but like I said, this thing, and man, the trick with CVTs, a lot of guys don't understand the valving and hydraulic control and how that stuff really. CVT takes a perfectionist to make it work and make it last. You really need to be thorough. And but this thing, man, I've never seen valves worn out that bad.
Well, you're pretty good with all of them, though, except AOD.
What AOD did I mess? I would say, man, I've had trouble with a power glide before. But...
Yeah, I was talking to somebody. You and me have talked about that a lot, but I hear the guys all the time. Boy, I miss the old days for computers and stuff, and I'm like, I don't miss flooding my car in the driveway when I was late to work. I don't. Yeah. I don't miss having to re-ring at 150,000 miles. I don't.
I remember my dad telling me he used to get 30,000 miles out of a transmission, and then they rebuilt it. The little shop down the street, you know, they had a little corner transmission shop. He's like, oh yeah, truck needs transmission, but 35,000 is about all I get out of it. And it was only $395 to rebuild it.
Yeah.
But you do it every 30,000 miles.
350 turbo that was in my Trans Am. I broke the input shaft on it 3 times. And it wasn't like it was a hot motor. It was just that 400 6.6, and it was stock, 200 horsepower or something. But that thing would just tear transmissions. I mean, I tore transmissions up.
Probably didn't have the Cobra input.
Yeah, that was the God. That dude took me for a ride on that truck.
The Cobra input.
Well, what's funny is my dad. The first time the transmission went out in it, and I was like, my dad goes, you need to call your Uncle Larry. He's real good with those transmissions. I go, man. I said, if I call Uncle Larry, he's just gonna have something derogatory to say about Pontiac and probably a racist joke. Yeah. and Dad goes, Dad just hollered back from the garage. You already have something derogatory to say about you. You're the one who keeps breaking it. I was like, all right, that's fair boy.
Well, that's where I started fixing. I learned to fix transmissions because I couldn't afford to pay somebody to do it for me. I would. Out street racing at 16, or what I thought was street racing.
Hot rodding.
Yeah, hot rodding, Molina.
So I wanted to talk to you about, because you pretty much grew up with tools in your hand. So your dad and your mom raced.
Yes, and it was an amateur racing. It was what they call LCCC. It was Corvette Club. Racing, but they did when I was, being conceived on the road. They were trailering. Dad was trailering a '64 Corvette around, chasing points on the weekends, working for IBM during the week. Bought a new '78 in '78. That was my mom's race car. Stripped down, no, for back then, no power windows. Everything as light as you could. It was a 4-speed car.
That'd be pretty cool, though. My mom's cooler than your mom. My mom braces bets. You know what I mean? Like,
well, they say women naturally.
hey, I
have a better
heard
reaction time.
your mom was in the hospital. Yeah, she flipped her bet last week, but she'll be all right. She'll be back on the track in no time.
Well, I don't know. It wasn't quite that extreme, but you'd have like the Porsche Club meets, but they go every weekend to different places all around the country, and you got points for every time you went. And they'd have the cool thing I think about some of that amateur racing was it wasn't like, man, you got like guys, drag race guys here, and you got road race guys, and it was, you did a drag race on, it was a drag race on Saturday, and then there was an autocross on Sunday, high and low speed autocross. So you had to do it all. And I remember, in recent years, my dad talking about, and I grew up in the Corvette Club and everything, and all the people and these people that had all this, I learned from all this huge group of 300 or 400 people in this club. And a while back, the dad telling me, oh, the Corvette Club, he's like, well, they got like 36 members. Because back before the internet, in the 70s, a lot of these people that are now, are much older or we're losing them, they were in this Corvette Club in the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. It was big, but you needed that knowledge base. Like now you get on a forum and Google it. And then back then it was like, oh, we need to go talk to, Dave builds motors. Let's go over to his house and see what he thinks about this lifter issue, and they all worked together. They raced together. It was like a huge family. And you don't see that in car culture and clubs as much anymore.
No.
Everybody, a lot of it is internet, and but it also opens it up to people that if you don't have a Corvette, you can get online and watch guys restoring Corvettes. There's 500,000 videos of guys showing you what to do, and so one day when you find that project you want, you can still enjoy it without having to own it.
I spend an amount of time I don't want to be honest about watching a guy restore pencil sharpeners from the 1920s.
That's pretty cool. It's kind of cool.
I get wrapped into it. I'm like, I want one of these pencil sharpeners. I don't even use a pencil, but I want one of these pencil sharpeners. I don't want. He puts a lot of work in them. The guy that restores there's a guy that restores the Tonka trucks and stuff.
Oh, the Tonka trucks are pretty cool.
Yeah.
I take that stuff apart, ready to restore it, and then just kind of.
Yeah, I got a whole box of Matchbox cars up there, Hot Wheels cars that. I started taking them apart and painting them. Then I never could figure out what to do about the axles. Once the axles are bent,
you got to drill out the. They got the little rivet in the body.
Oh,
you got to drill out to get apart, but
yeah.
then you're like, now what do I do to put it back together?
Yeah, I epoxied a couple and put them back together using straight axles I took out of junky cars.
I will once in a while, like the video comes up with a guy like making he takes like a Corvette and makes an El Camino out of it or something with the Matchbox cars, and he's got the little saw and he's got the little file, and you look when it's done, he's got like little headlights painted on everything, and I'm just like, and every time I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do that, and I'm like, no more hobbies.
No more hobbies. No more hobbies. When did they quit racing?
Oh, I don't know. Probably, I don't know, in the 90s. I remember I had a 4-wheeler as a kid. We went to the races, and they'd let me go off on a 4-wheeler, and I remember working the timing booth at the drag strip and being a cone replacer at the autocross a couple times, running out to change a cone. I didn't realize that they were coming back through on the autocross.
They never made you be a backup girl?
No.
You never put on the skirt and backed them up.
Well, we didn't. Our cars weren't that cool.
What was that broad's name? Jungle Pam.
Yeah,
Jungle Jim and Jungle Pam.
I do like the.
I used to have a signed poster of Jungle Pam somewhere. I wish I still had it. Rachel probably wouldn't like it.
Yeah, I am. I do follow the backup girl page because there are some attractive young ladies that are doing service out there that I appreciate.
God bless you, doing the Lord's work. Shit, now half the pretty ones are driving race cars.
Right?
God,
I remember the
You couldn't get a girl to walk near a race car when I was growing up. They didn't want nothing to do with it. It stinks. It smells bad. I don't like it. Why is it? Does it got to be so loud? You got to make that obnoxious noise every time you take off? Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I remember going to the, and we're losing stuff like Baytown and everything, but I remember going to Nationals one time, get some free tickets. I don't know, you might have been working with me at the time, and I took Molina down there, and she said, "Yeah, I want to go check it out. You always talk about going to drag races and all this stuff." I went down there, and I remember her like, "Oh, come here. I want to go look at this car real quick." And the favorite thing is when they fire that nitromethane up and your body's shaking and your eyes, you can't see, you can't hear your ears. It's like this endorphin rush. It's unlike anything. And people look at you like, what is wrong with you? I've explained it to people and they're just like, you're sick. You're sick in the head, and it's like,
I have come to the conclusion that I will watch people race anything.
Yeah.
I was doing some comedy gigs on the road, and these guys were like, "Hey man, you want to go to we're racing belt sanders tonight?" And I was like, "What the shit?"
Hell yeah!
He's like, "We're racing belt sanders." He goes, "And we bet on it." And I was like, "I'm in." All right.
Yeah.
And we went and we gambled. I mean, $1 here and there, but we bet, got drunk, and watched them race belt. And I had the time of my life watching these dudes drag race belt sanders. And I like watching them videos of them dudes over in Indonesia with them little turbo diesels on them little skinny boats, shooting down the canal and stuff. And I've got a fan that watches from South Africa, and he sent me some footage and stuff, some of the racing and stuff they do down there. And it's just, you race whatever you got wherever you're at. It's kind of like remember they were talking when Cuba first opened up, and they were going down to Cuba, and they're like, there's this whole hodgepodge of 50s American cars before the trade tariffs and all that, for the trade embargoes. But now they've taken the diesel engines out of old Russian military hardware, and they've all got diesel engines.
You gotta be like Toretto, you gotta pull the beer tab off, and then the magic turbo, you remember Fast and the Furious, like, what? How's that? What are you doing?
I got sick. We all got norovirus a while back, right when we came back from San Antonio, and it ran through. It just ripped me, and I laid in bed. And I was feeling so bad that I actually watched Fast and the Furious and Fast and the Furious 2. I watched them all the way from front to back, and I was like, damn, I forgot how unhinged these movies were. You know what I mean? I was like, really? You owe me a 10-second car. There had been a 10-second car in the movie. What are you talking about? He owes you a 10-second car. He owes you a Toyota Supra. Suck it, bro.
Oh, man, I don't know. That
coolest thing in the movie, you totaled it.
I don't know. I love 1 and 2, and I know catch a bunch of flack for it, but I'm a Tokyo Drift fan.
I haven't seen that one. I've never seen Tokyo Drift.
I love Tokyo Drift.
But I did watch on an airplane. I watched Fast and Furious X.
Oh, is that when they drove to the moon?
No. Did they go to the moon in like a Pontiac Fiero to the moon? Yeah. I watched that one too. But on the airplane back from Canada when I went to Calgary, I watched Fast and Furious X, and there was a great scene in it where John Cena had this like Fox body, like 90s Fox body LX Mustang green, and it had the crazy paint on it and everything, and he's driving down, and the kid's like, what's with this car? He's like, this car was the shit, man. You don't know how cool this car was back in you had one of these back in the day.
You sure this was Fast and the Furious?
Yeah, it's Fast and Furious X. It has John Cena in it. He gets killed in it. Spoiler alert. If y'all haven't seen it.
Probably already seen it.
10-year-old movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was really unhinged. I saw the one where they sent the Pontiac Fiero to the moon, and that was pretty. I was like, all right, guys, we're really. I mean, there's jumping the shark and then jumping the moon. You guys are really taking it to a new level.
Well, I don't know. You know, I'm a big Michelle Rodriguez fan, but she did make a movie where she was also a man. So, the Fast and the Furious isn't that horrible.
I didn't see the movie where she was a man.
Dude, don't watch it. Don't watch it. She was an assassin.
I never liked her. She always looked too mean to me. I was like, that's good.
That's kind of what I like about her.
Yeah, I know. You like a girl and get you a DWI.
I got like a little feisty woman, yeah.
My buddy Clutch used to like women like that. Well, he told me one day, I was like, how'd you get your DWI? He's like, well, I've had 3. I go, how'd you get your 3rd DWI? He goes, well, He said, me and my second wife, Stacy, we was running down the road in Tennessee. We were just having a couple road sodas, having this good time. We got to fussing and arguing, and he was driving an old El Camino, the old GM Keys. He said she got mad at him and started punching him while he was driving down the road. He's like, you don't get me a deal. Yeah, I'm swerving all over the road. He said, spilled beer everywhere. And she reached over and grabbed the key and just pulled it out of the ignition and threw it out the window while they're going down the road.
I've heard about this happening before.
And he pulls over and he goes, I should have just kept driving like a dummy. I shut the car off and then I'm like, crap, now I got to find this key. And he's basically, she gets mad and stomps off through the field. She's going home or to a new husband or wherever the shit she's going.
She's on a mission at that point.
So when the Tennessee State Troopers show up, he's stumbling around in the weeds, beer all over him, looking for the key to this car. And I said, what'd you tell him? He goes, I just put my hands up. I just, you know when you're done. It's like
he wouldn't. Yeah, his
goes,
lawyer didn't advise him to deny.
No, sir. I was just walking down the road, and this broad come by, throwed her keys out the car, and walked off. Yeah. She went that way.
I just tried to help her find them.
She cussed me up.
She's real drunk, though.
She cussed me up a storm, threw the beer on me, and walked that way. You probably catch her tracks, catch her scent. You got a dog.
But yeah, so I grew up around all these Corvette guys and all this stuff, and man, there was a guy down the street that was like, man, I used to run away from home and go hang out in his shop. He was at the end of the street. His name was Jerry Owens, and I actually found one of his 69 Corvette that he was super proud of a few years back. I found it at a storage building in San Angelo on accident, and just one of those deals that was just meant to be, I think,
Yeah.
It was weird. Yeah, it was weird. I grew up in Austin. I lived down the street. I'm in Houston. I'm looking for a C3 Corvette. Been looking, as my dad said, you've been looking for the right C3 for 20 years. And I'd seen this car constantly on. It looked like crap because, and one day it just sitting in the bathroom one morning and nothing. I looked at all the other Corvettes. I said, let me look at the pictures of this. And I saw the name on the title. And yeah, that car was sitting in a storage building in San Angelo, and called the guy right away, went and picked it up. And, Jerry's no longer with us. He was a huge mentor to me. And used to give me stacks of hot rod magazines when I was like a teenager. And he had a street rod. He had this big block Corvette. He worked for 3M and he sold telecommunications. He was a sales guy. I remember going to drag races with this guy, and he's got to be in his late 50s, and he just the way he was one of those silver tongues. He'd talk to these girls like getting me I'm probably 14 or 15 years old, and he'd get me a lemonade, at the stand, and he'd say something to this girl that I'm just like, look at that girl, that's and she just, this little 23-year-old girl just giggle and swoon over him, like, oh. And he was just, he had this amazing skill that, like people. But anyway, so like I said, I'm sentimental with cars. I've got that car, and it's.
Oh, you bought it?
Yeah, I bought it. It was full. It was a good deal too. He had restored it. It's a big block 4-speed air roadster Cortez silver. It's it checks all the boxes.
You're a Corvette guy. I saw a Corvette the other day. I saw one on one YouTube channel, and then I had to go dig in to find out more about these Corvettes. But are you familiar with Reynolds Corvettes?
I don't think so.
So there was this crazy deal, and y'all, I'm sure, will show up in the comments and correct me on everything I get wrong here. But there was this crazy deal with General Motors and Reynolds aluminum.
The Reynolds wrap?
The Reynolds wrap.
Okay.
And
like you make your hats out of?
They built an aluminum Corvette. They built like 4. I don't know how many of them they built, but they also built a sheet metal Corvette at around the same time.
Really?
Trying to figure out different things, and this was like in the 70s. Anyways, there's a dude on YouTube that has a sheet metal Corvette, and it's kind of wild, to like think about that. But the aluminum ones are really hard to, of course, come across.
I'm sure they're quite
and they
valuable.
were heavy as shit. And,
yeah.
Way heavier than fiberglass.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, and the artistry I've seen with guys, I dream of, I'm not an artist, body guys, and a good body guy, and some of those, like we talk about the 30s and the 50s, these guys that could mold these cars out of aluminum are just it's phenomenal.
The coach work guys are insane.
Oh gosh, that just when a skill was, it's like, we're we're romantic about that time period because of what people could do. Even though life expectancy we're like 50 years old.
Yeah,
So
well,
you
you're
didn't
smelling
care.
aluminum fumes all day.
Let's go weld some,
Let's
galvanized.
go dip these chrome bumpers.
We got this radium stuff that glows. It's real cool. Let's play with it.
Let's make watches.
Yeah.
Make sure you lick your brush before you paint the numbers.
Seems magical. This is the greatest thing ever. People start telling me this is the greatest invention ever. I was like, yeah, they said that about asbestos, about radioactive material. They've said it about a lot of stuff, and so
I'll stay away from. I worked in a galvanizing plant for years when I was younger.
Oh, really?
Like we didn't really wear a whole lot of PPE. You know what I mean? Like we weren't doing a lot. You could smell it all day long, and that plant's long since been closed down. I don't think there's too many of them left here. But I started reading on one of these forums, and everybody was talking about how much better the old chrome was, the old chrome from the 50s and 60s. And then I learned about the process and how in which that chrome was created and all the runoff and all the we had to quit making that, guys. I mean, I get that it was better, but we had to quit making that. I mean, if we're going to make it, we got to make it in Indonesia or some shit where we don't care. Yeah. That's no offense, Indonesia.
And we still shouldn't do that.
We still shouldn't do it, but like if we're going to, that's.
But they have a little looser stuff than we do.
But that's the thing I learned about traveling overseas is they don't give a mixed shit about the environment once you get out of the United States.
Or
depending on where if you're like Singapore, there's a few companies, but like we were in Africa, we were just seeing at the end of we went and snorkeled in the Red Sea, and then they took us to a little area just kind of south of Egypt there, and the amount of trash and crap that was in the water, like you couldn't even see the water. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, how does that get there? Is it like, they're like, oh, they just dump it there. They just dump it in the, I was like, damn. And then I remember that was this is really I got to give credit. Chris Shaw, good buddy of mine, stand-up comic, is the one that said that. But we were in the airport in Kuwait and we ordered McDonald's. And the Big Macs come out in the big styrofoam boxes from like the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
And Chris goes, man, Kuwait don't give a mixed shit about the environment over here, bro. They still make it old school, Plastic straws and styrofoam. Of course, I hear we're going back to that.
Yeah, I don't know.
The whole ass executive order about straws. Like, what timeline
I don't know why anybody cares about that. There's a lot of stuff you can waste your time on instead of politics.
Man, I think we jumped the timeline some time back. Like things just are too screwy anymore that I'm just like, on any of them, not just him, any of them, they're all nuts.
I feel like it's like watching a ping pong ball match, a table tennis, and this side is doing this, and then this side's the craziness that they both come up with that nobody can see. They think the other person's crazy, but if you're looking from the sidelines, like,
y'all all look nuts.
Like, you're all crazy. Yeah, this is,
It's like one of those things like you read about in the old books about the monarchies and stuff when they would get so detached from reality and so dissociated from the common man that like if you read about the like King Louis, these guys are nuts. They were lunatics, but they were completely out of touch with reality. They had no reason to be. Homeboy's having sex furniture made. That's his big deal. You know what I mean? Like
the inbreeding might have been part of it too.
Yeah. There's a mess of that going on.
A couple things, Gotta keep those bloodlines straight.
Keep them straight, man.
We don't want any other people getting in on this.
Yeah. So what cars do you got now? What are you down to now?
Like down to, you want me to like a list? Well, let's see here. I can do a quick and I'll forget a couple, but we got right now. The projects are an easy way to start. So I got the 71 Chevrolet, my first car that's body off the frame. I've got a 69 GMC 3/4 ton, that really clean original truck, one of the cleanest trucks I've ever seen. I got the brakes off of it. I just got the motor back together, found it in a driveway up in Porter.
That's when you just drove up to the farm.
The turquoise
and
one.
Stuff back
the turquoise
with
one.
the kids, and it was giving you some grief.
No, I didn't end up driving it. I was gonna get it running in the guy's driveway and drive it home because it hadn't been run like 30 years. The tires are from like 1993, but they look brand new. And I had a problem. I bought a distributor cap from a parts store, and it was bad. Which, there was a bad vacuum leak, the intake manifold. Somebody rebuilt the motor like 30 years ago, and it's probably why it was parked, because it didn't run right. Well, I got all this figured out. One of the lifters was actually bad, and did all this stuff to it, and then it kept backfiring and come to find out, the brand new cap I put on in the driveway to drive it home was bad. But Dad called that one. It's like, man, every time I've ever seen that, it's bad distributor cap. I'm like, no, that can't be right. Yeah, it can't be right.
You got 69 3/4
ton. 69 3/4 ton GMC. I got the let's see here. I got a Jag I picked up a while back. It's a 2000 XKR, the supercharged, 2-door pointy convertible. That's next on the list. The motor's got I think it chunked the timing chain, which there was comment on. So when the 69 GMC's done in the next couple of weeks, the Jag's next. I've got the 06 Avalanche. I
like that Avalanche. I want that son of a bitch.
Man, I made a couple voyages in it. Yeah, everybody stop by. I want to buy that.
I like them. It's got the metal doors, and it doesn't have the plastic.
Yeah, it doesn't have the cladding. Yeah,
I like them. I know they catch a lot of grief, but I like them Avalanches.
It's got 3 transmission cores in the back of it right now. So that one's in the driveway. I got old flatbed Fred, the 11 diesel dually Cummins 1-ton flatbed, and that I bought out of that school district auction. I just picked up an 08 in a school district auction because it had a Tommy lift. It's got a bad transmission.
You were trying to sell me one the other day. It was like a Dodge Dakota, 4-door Dakota.
Oh yeah, I got the 4-door Dakota. I just picked up a pretty clean Nissan Rogue that's got a bad tranny for $350. Gets a transmission apart on my bench. I've got the supercharged 6-speed 2012 Mustang that I rebuilt the motor in. I picked up.
That's a badass car.
I picked up at Ford. They said it broke a piston, and they were real mad. I had to pick up the motor separate from the car, and they were just really concerned about what car the guy bought that sold it to me. And they weren't really concerned about helping him with the $12,000 bill they told him it was going to be, but they were really worried about why he didn't buy a car from them. And I had to keep explaining to them that I wasn't taking the car for a trade-in, that I was going to fix it. But yeah, so I built that, did all kinds of neat stuff. That was my first Coyote build, and it was cool. All the different timing stuff and everything, timing correction brackets and hardened bearings, and it was a really cool build, and it runs great. And then I put then of course, as soon as I got it running and everything great, then I pulled the tranny out because I didn't like the MT82, and found a wrecked GT500 and put the Tremec in it, and that's where we're sitting right now. I got that one.
Did you sell that? You had
got the '96 Impala I just bought in Austin.
You had what do they call that car?
I got the '65 Lincoln Continental convertible still that is rotting away that I need to do something with. I got a WRX.
You got a WRX, but you had another. Was it a WS? What's that damn?
The 3000 GT.
No, that damn Trans Am you had. It was like a 2000
it was
or a 99.
No, it was a 90.
But I thought it was the
93.
What do they call it?
They didn't have a WS6 in 93, so it was a Resme Red 93 leather 6-speed. I love that car. God, I love that car.
You still got it?
No. That one went through.
You had it over at Roxbury for a while.
Ansbury.
Yeah.
No, it flooded in Allison. It flooded in Allison, went underwater. I had the heads all back on it and everything. I pulled the heads because I had a bunch of miles on it. That was my daily driver for years. And I just got all my brand new GM, talking about going to the dealer. I'd gotten a little GM spark plug plastic brackets from the dealer, special ordered them and all that. Is how I was putting that thing together, doing it a little overkill. And it got water over the top of it.
Oh, shit.
And I ended up selling it to a guy that wanted to do a 6-speed conversion on his,
Yeah.
And no, I haven't had that car. And I love that car.
I like that. You had talked about selling it one time, and I was trying to scrape up the money, and then I was like, man, what the hell am I going to do with that damn car? I don't know.
It was one of those cars I loved so much, and after, and at the time it seemed so hard for me to come up with the money. I'm a transmission installer, R&R and transmissions at the time. I just moved to Houston, and for some reason I went from being a manager making good money and went back to the basics, and I like doing that a lot of times. But I just Man, it just
your
seemed like it
your
was the
career's
money was
taken
in.
some turns, man. You've
Yeah.
done you. I know you started out working in shops in Austin, right?
Yeah, started
You,
sweeping
you told me
floors
you
at like
made your
16.
because he's a genius with automotive electrical, and
I don't know if I go with
he's
genius.
pretty sharp, man. And you told me you made
I
your bones
stumbled my way
wiring
through
up,
some of it. Yeah.
wiring up Jaguar
Oh yeah, man.
tail
Making
lights and
jagging
stuff.
harnesses. Yeah, the distributor harness of XJ6s, man. We used to get those. Nobody knew how to fix them, and I just sit there in a stool and make a harness and put it in and get them fixed. Everybody complained about the price though.
Yeah.
Man, that's a custom-made harness.
It's a lot of labor hours
I
too.
think they saw. I think they see. You see a 19-year-old kid making doing something, and they just assume that it should be cheap. It's like it's
100%.
the artist deal.
People's brains work that way.
But
you did the shops in Austin, then you came to Houston.
Yeah, I went all over in Austin. Yeah.
When I met you, you had just bought that 8+ transmission on
Yeah.
Shepherd from John.
Yeah, because
you somehow turned that into 5 or 6 shops that you were managing and running.
Yeah, they bought out the shop and they really bought me. They wanted me to come to work for them as part of the deal. And yeah, we ended up. I think we ended up with 10 or 11 shops between Austin and Houston. Yeah, operating, doing all the legal department. I still do their legal work, and so I get to be lawyer sometimes, and I get to be a customer service guy, which I really enjoy. The customer service, I enjoy. Trying to.
David can talk some people down.
Well, understanding that it's not always, everybody wants to say the customer is the problem. And sometimes, the management and ownership needs somebody on the side to say, look, guys, this is our fault. We need to do this, and having.
We can make this right here and keep a customer.
They let me have. I could do whatever I wanted, and so they let me. They didn't care. It's like, well, David's going to fix it, and it's when you have that employee that has the best interest in mind of your. I wholeheartedly had the best interest in the company in mind with everything I did, and it was hard when I left. The new ownership that had taken over was more concerned about when I showed up to work, even though I was an independent contractor. And they weren't it wasn't
they
the
want
same.
You clocking in and showing.
Yeah, but they didn't want to pay. They didn't want.
Shirt.
They wanted me to. They wanted me to act like a regular employee, but they didn't want to pay my taxes to do that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And, we want the best of everything. And it was a young guy. You got to kind of learn that stuff.
Now you own a theater.
I own a theater.
Now you own a theater in Pasadena.
Are we going to the bad decision stuff?
I still don't think it's a bad. I mean, I know that wall is going to cost a little more than what you may have expected, but
it's not that. I'm frustrated with the crackhead stealing the wiring and that stuff, and I'm a little frustrated with it, and
but it's going to be cool when you get it going. You got some lifts in there, and you got some of your projects in there.
Yeah,
and
I take on big projects, and for some reason, I don't have this fear of giant projects, and it's really hurt me over the years. And an 8,500 square foot building that was built in 1930 is not the best decision that can be made.
I have no doubt you'll come out of it smiling when it's all said and done.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
It was so wild to me when I was telling people you bought that building. The number of people that were like, "Oh man, I took." My gun class there. I took my
everybody still.
My CHL there. Oh, my dad was a cop. That's where he used to go and train. And that was a big deal in Pasadena for years. There's an old theater built in the 30s, something like that. 30, and at some point, sometime in the 70s, it became a gun shop. And then they also had a firing range inside where the theater was.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did repairs. There's a whole machine shop at the top with lathes and milling machines.
Yeah, we walked up there. There was like 5 lathes. And...
there's 2 lathes, 2 milling machines, and there was a bunch of grind. One of the gunsmiths when we were in the process of going back and forth on the purchasing. One of the ex gunsmiths came in, and a bunch of the equipment that was supposed to go with the building he said was his, and the owner didn't really know, and so a lot of it left. But there was still some of the larger equipment that was hard to move out. Is still there, and
anything he couldn't fit in a pickup truck.
Right, pretty much. Yeah. If you
he left you with all the heavy shit.
If you
That's
could
cool.
dolly it down the stairs, there actually is some big pieces of equipment I kind of remember in there that aren't there, but I think there was a shaper that disappeared. But I guess that could probably be moved fairly easily.
Damn, that's Doesn't seem like fairly easily.
Yeah, I guess it depends what size it was.
Because they were upstairs.
Well, but it's funny. I walk into concrete and there's like dust. It's like permanent dust lines. There's a square there, and I go, yeah, there was a piece of equipment right there.
Was
when
something
that was supposed to come with this building.
That's that Chris Farley.
That permanent
doesn't hurt
square,
so much here or here, but like right here. Right?
That permanent square says that there was a piece of equipment that I was supposed to get with this deal. But yeah, hopefully it'll work. It's more for my. My wheeling and dealing. I need the warehouse spaces, is what it boils down
you need
to.
definitely the space. I know you got the property where you're sticking the cars at, but that's it's outside.
Yeah, I get the 55 Buick over on the property, and I've got a 90 Corvette convertible over there that was
two of my favorites you
Rescue.
had were those I think they were like 63 Skylarks.
Oh, yeah.
They had the little aluminum
specials,
engines in them and everything. Those are cool as shit.
Yeah.
Man. I still, if I see one of those cars on the internet, I'm like, that is a good looking little car, man.
Yeah, it was a cool car.
Those are really, yours were, like I said, the special ones. They were really, really cool.
Yeah, man, they were neat. That convertible was a 4-speed, air-conditioned 62 with the Hypo V8 4-barrel, all aluminum, little 215 V8. It was a very highly optioned car that I bet I bought that from that old lady on Wirt Road. It was her grandson's high school car or something like that.
And you sold those?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I ended up. I don't remember.
I know you had those in the shop on Shepherd.
Yeah, I got them all going, man. And I have this affinity towards. Let me find the car that has the rarest, weirdest parts that nobody can find.
Yeah.
I remember having the master cylinder like sleeved because it was just certain special discs, and you couldn't get the wheels in. I'm going, how can you not get? I had to have the brakes, shoes relined, like hunting this stuff down at the time. But that was a lot of the enjoyment. Was like, man, and again when forums were common, like, oh look, Joe Johnson over here, he's 70 years old and he sleeves master cylinders for $185. Well, nobody else does that, so you send them off to Joe in Wisconsin, and he sends you home with a little note like, thank you for good luck with the car, and that's what he's doing in his garage, is sleeving master cylinders and brake cylinders.
I had a uncle when I was younger, and he made his money rebuilding alternators and starters. That's all he did.
Yeah,
but I mean, you couldn't just go down to AutoZone and get a starter for just anything back then.
Lucrative back then, yeah.
Yeah, but he had a little shop, and that's all. You go in there, and there was just windings everywhere, and you couldn't tell what the hell he was doing, whether he was making bombs or alternators. Yeah. But this dude, he would like rewind an alternator for like $30, and then he did one for my El Camino one time because it was just cheaper than going to the auto part. I worked at the damn auto parts store, and even with my discount, I couldn't get the alternator cheap as homeboy could rewire it.
I think that's also created this problem where we see, like, we order these parts off the internet and like, oh God, I see, like, man, I know I can get that alternator for less than $30,
Yeah.
But then on our car we're driving every day, it's like, oh God, you'll run and pay $200 for it because you got to get it going. But man, that project car,
honestly, I have kind of given up on auto parts places. I just never seem to have any luck anymore. And I order a lot of my parts off Rock Auto and Parts Geek, and some of it off Amazon, like windshield wipers, shit like that off of Amazon.
It depends, yeah. You got to be a little bit,
I have gotten screwed on some parts from Amazon, stuff that.
No doubt.
Man, let's find out if they screwed me again. Here.
I got a pocket knife on me.
A couple of them here. Let's see if they screw me.
The other thing.
The last time they sent this to me from China, it was broken half. So I had to send it back, and then of course I had to go through a bunch of questions about what was wrong with the part. And I've had it sitting here in the garage for a freaking week. Nope, a box inside a box. Thank you.
Nice.
Amazon.
Man.
Gotta love that. Let's see.
This is only a couple trees.
Oh, I hope this one's right. It's a stupid little thing, but I'm the one that broke it.
Well, and you're the head mechanic on the premises.
Oh, I think this one might be in one piece. Oh, they wrapped the shit out of it this time. Oh, and they sent the screws. I didn't remember having screws. I remember having clips. So that's concerning.
So what is the application for this again?
That's for the Cadillac. Oh, so far we're in one piece. I'm pretty happy about that. Oh, the old plastichrome from that goes on the front of the hood.
Right now I know now.
Right, I was checking the windshield washer. I think the pump has gone bad.
Yeah.
It's Cadillac. Some little bullshit. It's some
Yeah.
diversionary valve or some
yeah.
shit. But you pour, but it also has a leak. But I can't find the leak. You can fill it up with fluid and it'll be empty in an hour. But there's none under the
on
car,
ground?
and I don't know where the hell it's leaking to. But I was checking the windshield washer fluid for H, and I shut the hood at a normal rate of speed.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And this thing went all across the ground, and I was like, "Damn it!" And one of my fans was like, "Well, you know, it's only $21 off Amazon, but this is the third attempt.
It only takes a couple tries.
This is the third attempt to get the old Cadillac front piece, but I'm glad we finally got it."
Well, that's what we're talking about chrome earlier. You know, you see what all this. I like a lot of the new processes. There's a lot of cool old stuff that's done, but there's certain things I feel that, even being a car guy, like some stuff needs to go away. Like,
well, I'm
chrome.
concerned about the environment. I'm not one of these people that's like, screw it. None of that stuff's real.
No,
No, we definitely got some problems, and we should tackle them.
But have you seen some of this like paint stuff? Like they're chroming things, and then they like spray some water on it, and it looks like show chrome. Like maybe it's not going to be as durable as the old, radioactive chrome.
There's a guy I watch that does interiors, and he has all these special paints for interiors, for dashes and stuff,
what they're doing,
and cracked dashes. This guy will fix a cracked dash,
really?
And you can't tell. I'm like, bro, I should have took him to Yukon before I knocked the giant hole.
In it.
That Yukon dash was jacked, bro. But I tell you, when I would go to the wrecking yard to find parts for the Yukon, I would always go, well, let's see if there's a good dash. There was never a good dash in a Yukon or a Tahoe. They were all jacked. There's a second-gen Dodges, too.
Yeah, the
second-gen Dodge trucks. I got a buddy of mine picked me up from the airport in Louisville, and he had a second-gen Dodge, and the dash was pristine in it. And I was like,
now.
I go, did you replace? He goes, no. He goes, this was my dad's truck, but my dad kept it in the garage all the time. And the old man just drove it back and forth to work, and he parked in covered parking at work, and it never got sun beat and everything. And he's like, but look, and he shows me, he goes, since I've been driving it. And then over here in the corner, there's a little crack starting. I was like, oh, you ruined it now.
I remember I had this guy at the shop once when I was doing customer service stuff, and this guy had this, it was his towing rig. He had a fifth wheel, older guy than I was, but his radio got stolen in the parking lot. Guys didn't check it. He had his 3/4 ton Dodge or whatever. Well, when they did, they got that radio out, and the dashboard just shattered. And we'd, working on those trucks for so many years, you just know every one of them's bad.
Yeah.
Everyone's broke. So we went and bought a new radio, hey, sorry, this happened. It's Houston. What are you going to do? Put a radio in, and that guy came and picked up his truck. What about my dash? All this other stuff. It's like, what they do, just beat it with a hammer, and we're all looking at him like, do you not know?
Yeah, this thing's
what are
brutal.
you talking about?
Because
he had the carpet on it. And I guess he did that as like an aesthetics thing. He thought the little carpet kit was for aesthetics, not to cut. Well, I guess it still is, but not to cover up all the cracks. And he was losing his mind about this dash. And I finally had to go sit him down, like at the internet, and like show him, like, this is a common problem. Like, the dash shattering is just a byproduct of the material they used. We don't really know if it. And to be fair, I don't know if it was broken before with the carpet on it or not. We didn't really know. They're just all broken, so we just assumed that one was too. And that's when I found out they were just starting to remake it. So and they were cheap, so I just bought him one and let him replace it himself at home so that he could break it the second time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't really interested.
Bro, me and Terry Smart Jr., the dude that worked for me for a long time, he was a good hand. He was pretty handy with tools. Me and Terry Smart Jr., that old Z71 started overheating on the way to work one day. Get out there, and it's leaking from that little, where it hooks into the heater core.
Yeah, the little quick
And
connect or something.
it was like 35 degrees outside, and I grabbed it and manhandled it and broke the damn inlet off to the heater core. So I had it bypassed for a while, and one day I ordered a heater core and told Terry, he's like, "Hey man, I'll pay you. Come over Saturday, help me change this heater core out." He's like, "Man," he goes, "actually, it's bad." He had almost the same truck. He had the 3/4 ton version of my truck. He said, "Mine's bad too." He said, "Let's do yours.
Let's do them together.
And then we'll do mine," you know. And 7 hours later, after doing mine, and I'm telling you, I still have bolts that go in that dash that didn't end up back in that thing. And 7 hours, it was like 30 degrees outside. We were huddled up in that truck working on it. And we got mine done. And I go, "Terry, I'm going to give you a bonus this month. And I want you to take that bonus, and I want you to go over to the Chevrolet house, and I want you to pay them to change that damn heater core." You know, he went and found some mechanic that figured out how to do it without taking the dash out.
Oh, really?
The guy cut a hole in something underneath the
That
dash.
doesn't sound great either.
No, but you couldn't even tell, and it rattled less than my damn dash.
Right. Yeah, I remember, man, being in my late teens, I had date me with the SH. I was working at this place in Leander, doing heavy line work. It was like the retirement community for car guys, for car salesmen, and they'd buy these cars at auction. There was like three really old guys, like in their 80s, and they'd buy the cars, and they'd spend a week and a half like cleaning stuff with toothbrushes, and then they'd put it out on the lot for sale. And anyway, the owner had said, "Man, I really want to, I need to get this business back up and going to where it actually is making money and everything." So I had come in, and a guy I worked for went to work there, and he brought me along, and I ended. Next thing you know, there's a row of 10 cars with heads off of them, doing head gaskets, and he's, and the owner's happy, he's making good money. The mechanic side of the car lot is making money, but man, there was these guys. The SHOs were so big. They'd come in for air conditioners, and the same thing. Like nobody wanted to pull the dash, and they were at that age where it's like, man, the dash could crack, and and we'd always try and tell, "Hey, put a dash in it." While we're doing it, I'm pulling dash out. Let's put a new dash in, and some guys did, some guys didn't. But it would pay 26 hours to do an air conditioner on it. And I was at the point where I could do it. It took me like 14 hours, and I just take the next day off, and it was one of the greatest things. Like I'd gotten so good at these SHO, complete air conditioning, with the doing the compressor paid a godly amount of hours, and the evaporator core and the heater core. You just did it all. You just pulled the dash, just about pulled the motor. Do all of it. Just do all the lines, do everything. They all needed complete systems. And but yeah, it was actually really good. I'd work 4 days a week, and man was making good money. Or what I thought was great money at 19 years old or something. It was actually a lot of fun.
I got a little local shop here I use. His name's Brady. It's Brady Automotive. It's over there off Fulton kind of area. It's kind of off in the hood over there. But he grew up in this neighborhood. He grew up with Rachel's cousin Duke, who comes over here a lot from time to time, visits with us. And Duke grew up in this neighborhood. They grew up together. And Brady races boats. He has drag boats and all kinds of stuff. He's got a factory big block square body pickup that's his daily driver.
Cool. Really?
It's pretty cool. He's kept it clean, It's a cool old truck, but I took him. He doesn't really like to screw with anything that's not GM anymore. He's kind of getting in his later American for sure, but GM. And I actually did take the Mazda over to him because he's going to help me out with some of the front end stuff on the Mazda. Because I'm on
front end stuff is front end stuff.
Yeah, I just don't want to tear it down the driveway.
I don't want to do front end work.
Yeah,
honestly.
Well,
it's that point in my life.
It's got some bad bushings on the sway bar, but to get to the sway bar, you have to drop the damn rack and pinion, the subframe, and all that crap. I'm like, I'm not doing that in the driveway. I will never get that car back together. But I took him that Cadillac when the air conditioning went out, and he did me a solid on it. And everybody, when they heard the price, they're like, "Oh my God, you got to take him for a ride." I'm like, no, because his only mandate was that he was going to buy Cadillac parts. Yeah, they were going to be Cadillac dealership parts, and it had to have a compressor, of course, everything going through, and so we ended up spending like $1,538.
That's a good deal, though.
Dude, he only charged me like $300 of labor. Everything else was parts.
Man, when I was
had it done in a day, and let me tell you, I ain't beating that Cadillac now. That's how Cadillac air conditioner is supposed to be. You're supposed to be able to just crank that 750 down. Now, the Mazda air conditioner on a hot day in July, it struggles, but it's got the moonroof, so it struggles to keep up in that little
Yeah.
car. But it's probably not a very big compressor on that little engine.
It's not a big car either. But the
That
Cadillac's got a lot of space in it.
yeah. I like the shit out of that Cadillac, man. I love Cadillac. Cadillac doesn't love me back.
Yeah,
but I love Cadillac. I always tell people Cadillac's got engine lights for other engine lights. It's got like that shit it's doing right now with this surface StabiliTrak, and you start digging through all the flaws that cause the StabiliTrak to go. And then we just got a notice from the dealer that there's a recall that the back bar link separates or some shit. Sounds dangerous as hell. And but then they're like, you may be getting StabiliTrak messages and stuff. It ain't. But I know me and I know my luck. I'm gonna get it back and then I'm gonna have to bring it over to you where I scan it. I'm gonna just throw parts at it until it stops telling me that shit.
Until you put a piece of tape over it. Yeah.
I tried to find the damn windshield washer reservoir for it. I can't find the damn windshield washer reservoir. Even from Cadillac, I can't find the damn windshield washer reservoir. So I'm like, I guess I'm going to have to take that one out, find out where it's leaking, fix it, put the damn thing back in, hope I don't tear it up putting it back in, just so Mama could pull that little stick and wash her windshield off,
I get it. I have old flatbed Fred the work truck came stripped down, no power locks, no power nothing. It has 2 holes in the hood where you could get windshield squirters, but it was so stripped down.
They're no squirters.
Does not come with the motor. Does not come with any of it.
It didn't even have air conditioning.
They didn't even cover the holes up. It just left the holes in the hood.
This truck doesn't have a spot for air conditioning in the dash. It doesn't have it. There's no evidence.
When I bought it, it said no air conditioning, and I assumed it just didn't work.
No air conditioning.
2011 Dodge 3500 did not come with air conditioning.
That's wild.
In Texas.
We bought that little car for Rachel. Rachel had for a while. It was a 2019 Toyota Matrix.
Yeah, I remember the Matrix. Yeah.
And it was.
She loved that car.
Yeah, it was a great little car, man. Bro, I paid $19 for that car. We put 40,000 miles on it, and then we sold it for 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was paid off by the time we sold it, and we just. I think we owed like $5 on it. Yeah. We had to pay $5 off, but I let this consignment guy sell it for me. He was a good salesman up there at Montgomery County. I'd done some wheeling and dealing with him, buying stuff from him, and he's the guy I bought that Yukon from. That Yukon was I paid $15 cash for that Yukon.
Yeah.
It was a 2008, and then that was like in 2010. I paid like $15 cash. No, it was 2013. I paid $15 cash for it. Had 90,000 miles on it. After Rachel got the Cadillac and I started driving Yukon, I beat the piss out of it. I mean, when I was done with it, it had no heater core. Because when the heater core broke on that one, I was like, screw that. No. Giant hole in the dash. I had a oil. I changed the oil sensor. That was that bitch of the one on the very back of the motor. I already changed it twice, and that light kept coming back, and I couldn't get the damn thing inspected hardly.
Yeah.
It had AFM on it, and it was at like 226,000 miles. And you're like, bro, you're on borrowed time, man. And then the 4L60 finally took a shit in it.
What didn't you do? I remember you bringing it over to the shop because you thought it had a transmission problem, and it ended up being like shock. It was like shocks.
It was the struts. Yeah. We did struts on it, and yeah, dude, I did it. I just did struts on the Mazda too. That wasn't too bad. It was easier on that little car.
Yeah,
and a little video strut, and
yeah.
I was in and out in about an hour. I was like, oh, shit. Why was I dreading doing this?
You could get those ones.
I actually like working on that car.
Got the springs and everything made onto it.
Yeah. It was all preloaded, ready to go, man.
A couple bolts.
I went ahead and put back shocks on it. I got so excited. I was like, shit, man, look at me, man. You can buy the whole kit for like $240. I did it all. And then I drove around with Sam Miller in it. Now I think the structure's screwed up again. Sam Miller is my buddy, comedian. He's 6'5", 360 pounds. Literally.
Did he fit the car?
He did, but his knees were like up against the glove compartment. And I was like, I can't get anything out of the glove compartment. And I did. So on the way, that little car, I put $30 in it. I can drive across Texas.
Yeah, you're telling me.
So I drove to Austin, met up with Sam, and me and Sam get in the car. We're going to drive Walnut Springs, like 2 hours away from Austin. Like halfway to Walnut Springs, I'm running out of gas. I'm like, what the hell's going on, man? Then I realized Sam screwed up my gas mileage because we doubled the carrying capacity. Right. I'm 320, he's 360.
You need to put in your half, bro.
But I told him I felt like I was driving a truck when I'd have to let the clutch out real slow and like get to a roll and take off. It wasn't my zippy little ride I usually enjoy. So hopefully I'm gonna be weighing a lot less soon. I did something crazy this week, but I've been struggling with my weight, for a long time, and I lost a bunch of weight and then I gained some back, and I was really freaking depressed about it in January. I stopped going to the gym and I got all bummed. You get in that cycle of like getting bummed out, and so I went and got an injection this last week that Terzipride or whatever the shit is. It's like Monjero type shit.
Yeah.
But I talked to a doctor and I went in there and he's like, you're not diabetic, but your insulin resistance is up. And he's like, you're at an age where he's like, do this until you can get on an even kill. Don't stay on it, but we'll do this. So we're going to do it for like 6 months and see. But so far it has affected my appetite. Like my normal hunger is gone. I don't want to eat everything.
I've got some family members that have done the thing recently, and my mom was having a lot of trouble with, especially her age, and from smoking a lot of years, which was commonplace for people, of that generation, and she's working on losing some weight. But how do you feel about like we talked about earlier? Like this is supposed to be the greatest thing that we've invented.
No, I worry about
it. It's like, man, is this the asbestos of our day
I've done
age?
a lot of reading about it, and I've tried to inform myself as best I could, and I sort of lean towards Rachel and that stuff because she's smarter than me about a lot of it. And there are people that have problems. It causes pancreatic problems, and it causes bone density problems in people. But so I worked out a deal with my doctor. I was like, well, then. Yeah, we worked out kind of a diet for me that's like high protein, whole grain stuff, which I like all that stuff. It's not that I dislike it. I just eat crap when I'm on the road. So I'm back on that, and I'm back. But he really nailed the point down. He goes, if you like going to the gym and you like working out, you have to go back to that. He said, because you will lose muscle density faster than you lose fat. I just got bummed out and depressed, and I get into these hovels where
I remember you were looking for different gyms. I remember seeing like the gym by my house. You were like, oh, these jerk off, which I could see.
That's where I screwed up. I was like, well, you know what? I'll just go back to working out in the backyard. And you know what? It's really easy to do is not work out in the backyard. It's really easy to look at it and go, oh, it's raining. I ain't gonna do that. Oh, it's a little cold out there today. I'll do it tomorrow when it's warmer, and then it ain't warmer.
Getting in the car, making that drive, paying that money.
You know what it is? It's a brain trick. I drive all the way over there to Shepherd.
You're going to Shepherd?
Yeah, I just started going back to my old gym. I drive all the way over there to Shepherd. Once I'm over there, I'm like, well, you're here now, bro.
Yeah.
Get your workout in. And usually once I start lifting weights, I feel better immediately. Like yesterday, I went and I was like 10 minutes in and I was feeling better already. And I was like, you dummy. You know this, but it's so hard to convince.
Yeah, I didn't know if there's something the gym did wrong here, why you'd stopped. If it was just
they had a lot of broken equipment, and they weren't keeping up their equipment, and I was just getting irritated because every time I go over there, a piece of equipment I wanted to use was broke, and I was just getting frustrated. But they did come in and fix a bunch of shit in my absence, so I was like, well, maybe they got my letters, Because I did write Planet Fitness some angry letters. I was dear sons of bitches.
When I was part of that gym and it was Bally's, I remember the same problem. Like everything was broken.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just like, oh well, this gym is going to go out of business soon, so they're just not fixing anything. But
it's wild, man. That's a whole industry in itself these days, man. That's what happened. I started looking around for other gyms, and I went to that one. There's one kind of by your neighborhood where the old Ace Hardware used to be.
Oh, yeah, that one right down the street. Yeah, that's brand new.
LA Fitness, I think, or whatever.
No, it's not LA, I don't think. I think it's 24 hours.
24 hour. I walked in there. I set up an appointment to go check the gym out. I walked in there 20 minutes before I could get anybody to talk to me. And while they were screwing off, hanging off behind the counter.
Yeah.
And so I got a little frustrated with that. And then there was a dude walking in. He just said hi to me. I was like, hey, man. Where he goes, man, this is your first time here. I hadn't seen you here before. And I was like, okay, are you about to hit on me? I was like, where are we going, bro? Because I think I'm out of your league. I don't know. I mean, he wasn't a bad looking man. Anyways, he goes, hey, man, leave your door unlocked in your car and don't leave anything in your car. I go, what? He goes, well, they've been breaking windows out of cars and stuff left and right here. And I was like, I don't want to go to this damn gym. These people won't talk to me. And I had like my little pretty woman moment. I was like, well, piss on y'all. And I stomped out there to the Mazda.
Yeah, no doubt.
Barked the tires a little bit, leaving it like I did something, you know. And it's like, shit, I don't want to drive all the way over here, go to this gym, maybe get my shit knocked out. And then I went and checked out a couple other gyms, and it seemed like they all had kind of the same shit. And I was like, all right, well, I'll just go back to my crappy gym, you know, like the one I know, and I know what it costs. Planet Fitness is pretty cheap, so it's not a terrible, you know, I spend like $25 a month. But the cool thing about it is Planet Fitness has those massage chairs. And so if I drive to DFW to go do a show and my back's all out of whack from being in a tiny car or whatever, and so I can just run over Planet Fitness and hop in that chair and get a little massage before the show, you know, or whatever, do a little red light therapy or whatever, you know, and make myself feel better. So it's kind of a nice thing to have on the road. And they're like cockroaches. Planet Fitness is everywhere, man. The smallest towns I've been to, there's an old abandoned TGI with a Planet Fitness in it, you know.
Yeah, what was the old green the like Irish restaurant that
Molly's?
No, not Molly's, just a Molly, but the one that was in like all the malls.
Beer Freddy's.
No,
that's Italian. Bennigan's.
Yeah, with the $2 like Tuesday $2.
I just remember they had the Monte Cristo, that big old sandwich.
Every one of those is closed down now, just boarded up buildings, just sitting there. You know, that was.
Me and Rach found one somewhere. We were so excited. We were like, it's a Bennigan's. I think we were like in San Antonio or something one time, and we found like the last Bennigan's. And we were so psyched, and then we went there. We're like, "Oh, there's a reason."
I remember it. Yeah,
this was like Irish Applebee's.
Yeah,
this
it was like Chili's. Yeah, it was like Chili's, green Chili's. Yeah, with cheap beer, man. I remember sitting we used to have one down on the east side when I lived there, and we'd go watch that. There was a boxing reality show, and we'd go down and $2 Deegan box and watch whatever the biggest winner or whatever the reality show, or the boxing reality show.
Hey, my buddy Will Loden, you bet Will, he came out and worked for you that day. He's a big old galoot, and he's trashy. I love him, but he's trashy as hell all that. I go, man, he said he went out to what's the town? The name is famous.
That could be quite a few.
Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings, Lukenbach, Texas.
Oh, Lukenbach,
he went to Lukenbach, Texas to do comedy. They were paying him to announce bingo, but be funny.
Okay.
Stand-up comics have to take a lot of gigs.
Yeah, I remember some of your gigs.
Yeah. I've done some crazy. I've refereed dwarf wrestling, and you know, I've done comedy in a midget wrestling ring in College Station. I've done some shit.
That sounds like College Station.
I call Will. I go, hey man, how'd the gig in Lukenbach go? He goes, man, it wasn't a bad gig. They paid me $250 to do called bingo, and I was like, yeah. I was like, what'd you do afterwards? He goes, man, I got drunk at Applebee's and I had sex with this female prison guard out in the parking lot. I was like, there you go, Will. You're living your best life. God bless you.
Good for him. And good for her.
But that's, really. I think good for everybody. Yeah. There were no victims in that situation. That way, except her car springs, because Will's also 6'5".
I can see the size of Will, and I can just imagine, Xena over there.
I bet it wasn't an Altima. She said, she sounds like a Blazer gal. Yeah. You know what I mean? A Tahoe type.
Deuce and a half. You know what?
Deuce and a half. I'm taking an active. I'm trying to do something here because I'm just gaining that little. I lost 88 pounds and then gaining like 15 of it back was just enough to shut me down. But I've yo-yoed like that my whole life, and I'm like, I don't want to do this shit anymore. I'm tired. You know what? I'm going into my 50s. I would like to be able to just fit in places that I don't fit. I'm tired of.
Yeah, I mean, man,
I've carried this weight I've been big since I was like 7th grade, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, I remember when we met, I didn't think you were that big.
No, I was about 250 then.
Yeah,
so.
You were, I didn't think, But,
I was just husky boy then. Yeah. But yeah, it got out of hand, man, especially during the pandemic. I was just like, I'm eating everything. The world's on fire. I don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah,
Evan Williams in my coffee. I was just like, here we go. World's done. This is the end. I lived like downtown Houston where everything shut down,
right. Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, it was rough down there.
That shit was wild. That's when all your stuff happened, man.
Yeah, it was.
When did do you feel like talking about that?
Well, yeah, I
Okay.
guess. I mean, it happened.
Yeah.
It ain't my favorite subject in the world.
No. We'll. So, how long were you and Molina married?
We were.
I was at your wedding.
You were at the wedding.
Junie was little.
Yeah, so we were married. We got married in we were married 10 years. We dated for 10 years.
Yeah, y'all were together a long
So
time.
yeah, we met when I was 21. I think she was 22. We met at a dance hall in Austin. She just got out of UT, and I was I only went to the parties at UT. I didn't make it to any classes. So. But
yeah, no. Molina was a pistol. Though.
Yeah,
she was. Molina is the first person that I learned that teachers party.
Yeah.
Like I had never hung out with teachers.
Partied
she was
hard.
a teacher, an education expert. She had
teacher, librarian.
how many degrees.
I don't know. She's masters and all kinds of different stuff. She had a master's in library science. She had early development.
I came over to y'all's house for that. This is back before they had kids and before we had kids, and we were all young and dumb and having a good time. And I came over and we were doing that dead celebrity party. And you come up and you're like, oh, there's stuff in the bathroom drawer if you need it. And I was like, what? And then I kept watching all these teachers stream in and out of that bathroom door. I'm like, I'm never sending my kids to public school. And I didn't, I had no idea. When you were telling me about that teacher in Violet yesterday, I kept going, do you wonder? Do you wonder if she's going to those kind of parties?
She's not. She's not partying hard. She's not. But yeah, no, we man. But back then we had all these. She was teaching. They gave her basically, hey, pay for your teaching, but you got to go to the worst school we can find for you. And there was all these Teach for America, all these other.
Yeah, I know she was
people that were in the
hood and stuff.
Yeah, in their man, I did not know stuff went on in schools like that. She used to come home with these stories, and I was blown away. But that was for when she first started teaching. She left Austin, and we had a little falling out. She moved back to Houston, and it was she went and got her teaching certificate, and part of it was, hey, we'll pay for it if you go to school. Well, they didn't end up paying for it because of something she didn't meet the requirement for. But she stayed at she felt the obligation to stay at this pretty rough school over on the east side, and kids didn't have a lot of good options, and so but a lot of it was Teach for America, which is kind of like a Peace Corps type of thing, where it's hey, if you go all these real well-off families that to go do in Canada, I think they call it like your service or something, and they go teach for 2 or 3 years. The problem with that is they do that to get it on the resume, and then they go and go be a opera singer or stockbroker or whatever their family destines it to. Very few of them.
Molina was a dedicated teacher. She was education all the way.
She loved education.
I know we had some arguments back in the
day. Mom,
But I knew Rachel was liberal, but Molina was the most liberal person I had ever met. And I remember we had some knockdown, drag out arguments about some stuff, but she would always get through to me.
We did too.
She would always get through to me, though. She's smart lady, man. Very persistent.
It worked. We were very opposite when it came to a lot of that stuff.
I remember you were Mr. Moneymaker and very capitalist minded at the time, and I was like, this is one of those things though. This is me and Rachel super different.
Different. Yeah, she was an amazing woman. She was and she was gorgeous.
Oh yeah, she's a beautiful lady. I had told them the last time I got to see her was that day I brought the Yukon over to your house on New Year's Day. Yeah, I think that was 2020. I think that was New Year's Day 2020.
Probably, yeah.
That was when I first got it back from Rachel, and she's like, the brakes have been making noise. And I got over to your house, and we took it apart. We're like, what brakes? There are no brakes. and Molina and her best friend were in the driveway, and we chatted a little bit and just giving each other some grief. And then you called me. When did it? Was it April?
May 13th. I think she died on the 13th, yeah, May 13th, I believe.
I couldn't believe it. I remember when you called me, I thought this isn't real.
Yeah,
Like I'm sure you were
oh
feeling
yeah, no,
some
it was
kind of
pretty.
way,
Yeah,
surreal about it.
there's a bunch of stuff I don't remember around that time, and for a couple months after, for sure.
Yeah,
It was quick. It was just so fast and so unbelievable. You know, just had a conversation and about picking up milk, and 24 hours later, they're telling me that she didn't have any brain function. It's something that you don't feel is supposed to happen in this day and
well, no,
age.
she was so young.
Yeah.
It was like a side effect from an antibiotic or something.
I don't know. That's what I think, and then apparently it's just a super rare situation. Some chemical imbalances in the brain that turn your brain off, and I feel that a lot of it had to do with the way with COVID at the time. Everybody was looking at COVID, COVID, COVID. We're all looking. All the news is telling us how all these people are dying and all this is going on and everything. And that's what the doctors were all. What did you guys do? What drugs did you take? And because you were bored, and it's like, man, we didn't. Trying to explain to them that this isn't normal. That like there's something something is really really wrong, and I'm going, look, we gave her some Advil and her fever went down. You guys are like they're wasting their time. They didn't want people coming in the hospital because they had a guard posted up.
Yeah,
uh it was a weird deal. And
that's right around the time Rachel's grandma, her kidney started failing.
yeah,
She fell down out here in the driveway, and rather than call us, she laid out in the driveway all night before she called us the next day, like 40 degrees. And
yeah, oh
they
Jesus.
started, but trying to get her in and out of the hospital, Rachel was having to go through all this crazy
Yeah.
protocol
Oh,
to
they
get her in
wouldn't
and
let
out of the
you in,
hospital.
and it was just and I they wouldn't. You look at some of the stuff and you go, hey, it really made me understand that there's no difference in you got employees at a hospital and employees at McDonald's, or there's people that do their job well and want to do it, and there's people that don't. And
In
sometimes,
every walk of life.
yeah, and in everything, it doesn't matter whether you're sending people to the moon, or you're fixing cars, whatever. And you know I use some of that. I blame some of that, and some of it. It's. I feel that they just weren't listening. They just wouldn't. And
Oh, I think there's enough
the
middle
news,
fingers to go around
yeah,
for all of them.
the
on
news
that.
and the media was just everything was just so doom. It was horrible.
Oh, I
You
remember,
can't, yeah, you can't go to hospital. People that were doing this stuff, and there was a obvious real problem. I don't believe that this was any kind of fake deal, but um, in the healthcare profession, I feel that we should also known that there's still other problems out there. Like everything
Yeah.
coming in can't be COVID.
Yeah,
There's going to
still
be a small
all the people that were
percentage,
getting sick and having the things happen to
other
them
things.
before that were still happening.
And I also feel that they were just feeding her a bunch of just like, here, take some of this and just see how it does, and they weren't really
Listening to her.
yeah, and they weren't really trying to hey, there's something's not right, like she shouldn't be this sick, she shouldn't be all this in the last couple of weeks. And I feel too that one of the clinics that she was using, that she got this one of the clinic, hey, if you go here through your healthcare, it's taken care of. And she's like, man, this place is real nice. And I always get a little apprehensive of places that are overly nice.
Yeah.
When you got the granite counters and iPads to use at your
I see what you're spending your money on.
Yeah, like, are we more trying to just get the business in, or are we trying to help people heal? And I feel that some of it, instead of certain processes that are older, proven processes, that they were more like, hey, let's see how many visits we can prolong this for. And all that could just be in my head, and I could be just angry about the whole situation.
Well, I think you're allowed to be too, though.
But
one of the and the reason I brought this up is not to talk about David's grief, but one of the things that's always amazed me about you is the job you have done since that day. You got 2 daughters.
2 daughters, yeah.
How old are they now? 9
and 6.
9 and 6.
Yeah.
So they were just.
At the time,
they
there
were
was an
toddlers.
18-month and a 3-year-old. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, 4-year-old and an 18-month. Yeah,
and
at
that's
the time.
that's been the thing that I've watched. Like, I always knew you're a good dude, but I think a lot of us,
there's probably some questions though.
like what, but a lot of us don't know. I'm telling y'all, something happens to Rachel, them kids are screwed. It's not going to be pretty. I wish I thought better of myself than that, but I think I would be so overcome with my own grief. I'm not sure I would have been able to pull my head out of my ass and do the job you've done. And it's one of the most impressive things about any man I've ever known in my life is the job you've done by your kids since that happened. Like,
it wasn't just me. There was family, friends, and there was
yeah, I know you got a network, bro, but it was you every night in that house. It was you.
I mean, I don't know. I don't. People say that. I feel that it's a trial by fire parental deal. Is like, yeah, I wasn't. I was the typical. At the time, like, oh, you want to take the kids to the museum? Like, I really need to work. And then when you're forced into it, I don't feel. A lot of people tell me that, like, oh, you're so amazing and all that. I think being a parent is just you step up and you just do what you do. You don't. I'm not saying that everybody would do that.
No,
there's a lot of people
you
that
have done a better job than a lot of people could have.
I like to think.
I don't think everybody's capable of doing
I think a
what
lot of
you've done.
people could. I think a lot of people would just step up and just do what they had to do.
Yeah, I like to think I would do a good job. I'm just pretty sure.
I just know.
I love my children,
sure.
but I'm pretty sure.
They'd be on the street corner.
The youngest one would get screwed. I might be putting them on YouTube trying to make money off of them and pay the bills or something. I have watched you take care of those girls, and not only take care of those girls in the manner of which you wanted to raise your children, but you've also done a really excellent job of trying to fulfill the wishes that Molina had for her daughters.
Yes,
and she had
she had high.
She's an education lady. They were going
to be trying to That's the biggest deal. Is like, what would she be happy with this? Like,
yeah, I'm sure you have to ask yourself that all the time. Like, what would she think about this?
I
don't know what you believe, but I believe that things don't go away. So I have to think that she's watching, going, holy shit, I didn't know he had this in him. Yeah, or maybe she did. Maybe that's why she chose you.
Yeah, maybe. But and then, just all the stuff that you want to do, and we all as parents want to give our kids the better than we had, and everything. And there is only so much you can do, and God, the time that we have, it's. When I started kind of working for myself, just doing whatever I do, I don't know, just making money. I don't really know that I have a real job title, but
that's
I had to leave to, not only was the corporate world not making me happy, the corporate side of it, even though it was good money, but I just couldn't do right by my kids and deal with being beat up on that side of it, at the time. And so when I left, it was just kind of, hey, we're going to do this, and it's good. We hustle, and I do what I need to do. But man, getting the kids at 6 and or 5 o'clock, having after school that costs so much money, and making dinner and brushing teeth, going to bed. I'm glad that now we can go on a weekend and I can, I've got the kids so much. I feel so much closer to them than I think I would have, I don't know, but I feel that there's not enough time to be, they're growing up so fast, and I don't have enough time even with being the only parent. So
I look at mine and I go, what the shit happened?
Yeah.
I mean, you're just playing with Legos the other day, and my oldest is Junie. Yeah. Junie started singing.
She's a teenager, right?
Yeah, Junie started singing, and so this friend of mine started a music school for kids. You probably saw the band play Strippers Live back in the day in Houston or the Crisis, but
I didn't grow up in Houston, so no, I didn't.
oh well, I mean, in the time since you lived here, when y'all were going out to bars and stuff, they were like a big band. They were
Yeah.
playing all the. They used to play Sherlock's and pretty much the circuit, Sam's Club, and all that kind of crap. And but he's the guy that did the music for my special for the record. His name is BC Brian Carey, and he started this school called Best Lesson Ever, and it's in Friendswood. But
I know she said she's really enjoying it.
dude, the kid that started going there a year ago, and the kid that's getting up there and performing now is like it's night and day, but also kind of pisses me off a little bit because I had to work a lot harder to get my talent. This kid just got this
You had to go out, cut your teeth on the road,
and he's teaching them about gigs and like how to be a professional musician. He's teaching them about keeping track of your own music. So a while back, like 3 or 4 weeks back, he says, Junie, you ought to think about looking into an instrument. And Junie's like, well, I'm interested in the piano. So Junie starts playing piano 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
and
really?
I go to watch a show. It was about a week or two ago. I came off the road and Junie had a performance at an open mic down in Friendswood. And we go down there and this kid goes up there. First time, been playing piano for 3 weeks, gets on stage, they set the piano up, plays piano and sings, and gets a damn standing O. I'm like,
Really?
I was in the business 10 years before I got a standing O. What are you doing?
Making me look bad.
Oh, man. I'm like, you got more talent.
You're supposed to be 40 before you can do that.
Yeah. Like, I remember my first standing O. It was a big deal, like, damn it.
She's like, yeah, whatever.
You're just starting, and Judy's just so nonchalant about it. Like, yeah, I really like piano. Yeah, I guess you do. I guess you do. Like,
probably because you're good at it.
So that's what I get what you're saying there. Like, it's happening so fast that I'm really glad that I get to be home and be present with them as much as I do. And because, man, shit's just moving at a high rate of speed. Everybody told me that when I had kids. They're like, oh man, it goes fast. And I'm like, yeah, I hear that. But then once you're in that time warp, you're like, holy shit, bro, 9 years fly by like that, I can't believe yours are as old as they are
because we had kids late compared to most people. The last one being it's my wife is 40 when I had a youngest one, and so yeah, they're just it's amazing how fast.
Well, just from my outsider's perspective, I think the job you've done is an absolutely phenomenal, bro.
We'll see in 20 years what their therapist bills cost, and we'll judge it off of that.
We're gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna do some testimonials from last week's show. Testimonials, if you will. If I can get my damn interwebs to work. Come on, bro. I usually pull these up ahead of time, but I didn't today. I played video games. I mowed the yard and then I played video games, and I feel pretty good about that decision.
Been trying to get back into some video games, at the late at night, but
I still play Grand Theft Auto 5, and I got my cousin Ricky. He's an old truck driver, and me and him were like close when we were kids. Then we had a falling out as an adults, and kind of reconnected as adults, and found out we both played this game. And it's just I play this game with my cousin Ricky at night, and it's just a way for us to keep in touch. And half the time we're just bullshitting on there, You know what we do most of the time? We don't even do any of the fighting because we both have made a lot of money in the game, so we have all the dirt bikes and all that stuff. So most of the time we spend our time on dirt bikes in the mountains, jumping through the mountains and stuff. And it's
what I'd be doing if I lived.
It's good. It's way cheaper and less bone breaky than actual dirt bikes. Let's see. At Chris Motley 2583, JW brother, I'm sorry it didn't go as planned. Believe me, I know how it feels to be an hour away from home, laying in bed alone, missing the one you love, long hours, loneliness. I think of the two things trucking and comedy have in common. I hate that Oklahoma, my home state, didn't turn out for you. I promise you this, get out to Shawnee like you was talking about. I'll be damn sure I got my ticket whether I can make it or not. That's the least I can do because brother, listen to this podcast at 2 a.m. I feel you, Bubba. Yeah, Oklahoma did not go. I've done shows in Oklahoma before, and this was not a financial success. In fact, I'm sending a check back. I'm sending the owner of the Tulsa Comedy Club his check back. I'm not taking his check because I feel like he wanted a percentage of the show, but they didn't do anything to promote the show and left me to promote the show on my own. And I just paid my opener out of my own pocket. I'm gonna send him the check back, and I don't think I'm gonna be going back to the Tulsa Looney Bin. But there's other venues in Tulsa. I'll definitely go back to Tulsa. But I think part of the problem that I ran into is when I go, everybody always wants me to come to these small towns, and I go to these small towns, and it's just hard to advertise in these small towns. I do better in mid-sized cities. I can advertise better and I get better. I sold more tickets in Louisville than I sold the whole week in Oklahoma, in one night. So I think I'm just going to have to go back focusing on mid-sized San Antonio, Louisville, Tulsa, places like that.
It's just a numbers game.
Yeah, man. It was just, we did 20 in El Reno.
Yeah, you think people
23 in El Reno. And meanwhile, I pay my opener good because he's really good at Barry Laminek's an incredible comic. And I paid him like $300 a show. So like, I'm pretty sure I made about $300 at El Reno. And then Stillwater, the whole town had the flu.
Oh yeah.
It is I think I'm going to name my next comedy special. You should have been here last week.
Yeah,
because I get so sick of hearing it. You should have been here last week. It was packed
I think
out.
everybody thinks a small town. It's like everybody's going to go to the show because there's nothing else to do, and it's like, yeah, maybe not.
Barry is funny. He was honored to be the first guest on the Record Yard. Thanks for including me in this and for the road trip. Here's many more. Don't worry, your dining plod tactics are safe with me, Diamond Jim. Much love, homie. Until the next time. Barry, I can't thank you enough working with you. Y'all don't know, Barry's an AV genius. And I've been working with Da Vinci for 2 years, basically like a caveman, just pushing buttons. And Barry took me to college over that road trip and taught me so much about editing and so much about audio. I can't thank him enough. And he's also a great damn comic and a lot of fun to have on. And I didn't set out to steal breakfast. It just kept working out that I kept getting breakfast for free everywhere we went. And it's not my fault he paid $10 for a bagel in Oklahoma. I would not have paid $10 for a bagel in Oklahoma. There's no bagels in Oklahoma worth $10. It's not the bagel capital of the world. Texan Jeff, Bubba. Hey, JW, we're rooting for you too. Having a show on Super Bowl day is tough, or something derogatory I could type, but I want to be positive. I get the schedule just happened, and it is what it is. I hope more than 20 people showed up. Everyone, included you, had a great time. I also get how hard this episode was to capture and edit and publish compared to what you're accustomed to. Great job. Get some rest. Keep them coming. Thank you. I'm glad you guys liked that episode. It was kind of a weird thing for me, and it was stepping out of pocket to do something a little different, and it got a little artsy and a little weird. I know I got a little sad in some of them hotel rooms, but that is the life of a comic. I try to explain to everybody that I think that is why comedy is why there's so many dead comics, because we've lost a lot, especially out of Houston. I mean, comics just short lifespans, but you're at the show and you're high on the rush of the show, and everybody wants to take pictures with you and hang out with you. And then you go back to a hotel room by yourself and you crash, and it's hard. And I've learned to deal with it at 47, but it's still hard. It still kind of messes with you. I'm sure anybody who does any kind of travel work can kind of understand that concept of it. And Tulsa actually turned out to be a great show. We had 30 people came out on Super Bowl Sunday, spent their money to come out and watch me and Barry perform. And my boy brought his 1972 Grand Prix 600 horsepower,
Nice.
just big old toothy. Yeah. I love it, long hoods. Like somebody said, boy, that hood also converts to a bed.
Yeah, no doubt.
But he come out, he barked it for me out in the parking lot. He got it up and spun the tires for me, and I was like, hell yeah, bro. So I love people bringing their cars out to show me and stuff. That's some of my favorite parts of the trip, So. I certainly enjoy that. So if you come out to shows, you want to just holler at me, man. We get done with the meet and greet, I'll damn sure come out there and check out your prize, because I love that kind of stuff. All right, man, let's wrap this up. We went a little long this week. Man, I'm so glad you were here, brother.
Man, I appreciate it. It's
I
cool.
wanted you to be my first in-studio guest. I've told them so many stories about you. I told them the story about the time you came over. We're hanging out at our house like all day. We were drinking, having a good time, and you're like, "Oh, I gotta go." I told Molina I was going to buy cigarettes.
Well, man, you could do 100 shows about those stories and everything about all these crazy
I
stuff.
got a
That
damn
when
two on
we
my
were,
head.
one of the funnest times a couple years is you spending a lot of time with you at work. Bringing you on, like, man, I don't know what it was about you that it's like, man, I wanted to call this guy and just like hang out with him. Like, I didn't know how to. And then when I was like, hey man, you're good with people. You want to try and I need help running this shop.
Yeah, I
And
was a
stuff.
terrible manager.
You
But
were not. No, you were great with people, and that's all you needed. And I coached you on how to do the rest of it. It wasn't bad, but it was hard for me, trying to be a one man show where I'm rebuilding in the back. I'm trying to manage and talk on the phone and sell jobs. It wasn't great. It was a small little shop and it was cool, but
we had some good times. I always liked that you worked with people and you financed their jobs. And I remember some of them broke people over in the hood. They were coming paying you like $25 a week, and you're like, as long as they keep making a payment, that's
all that matters. Yeah.
The dude was.
I just want the money.
He was, but you were doing it in a different way where people could afford, what you needed to do for them. And we had some good times in that shop. I tell them, we just sit there in the morning, go through Craigslist and look for shit to buy. And like, that's how we bought the 750, the Yamaha 750.
We both show up on our little old beater bikes, and we both lived down back in the neighborhood, a couple mile from each other or whatever, back through the neighborhood, and it was a really, really fun time. In life. And
I think you don't make a lot of friends past 30. That's what I always tell people.
Yeah.
I feel like you don't. And I feel lucky that David was in my wedding. Like you don't. I always think about that night of my bachelor party. I got drunk and started doling out love advice in the McDonald's on Fremont Strip.
I don't remember you doing love advice on the McDonald's.
Oh yeah, so Steve had a crush on Sarah at the time, who Joey ended up marrying. And,
was she there?
And she wasn't there, but I was telling Steve, you need to go after that girl. You need to get her. And he's like, she doesn't want anything to do with me. She has a crush on Joey. All right, well, screw that. You need to go after that girl. And then Sarah and Joey ended up married. They've been married a while now and got a little one too. So it's kind of wild how it all works out. That's the only racing I have not been able to get into. Joey races sailboats, and I love my brother.
Yeah.
Sailboat racing don't do it for me. I don't know. There's it's wild the shit they go through. They get the crap beat out of them. It's not like it's an inactive thing, but it just watching it as a spectator though. Well,
it seems like it's a long way away. Like, you got to do it by camera.
Where's the engine? There's no engine. All right.
It's just a different type of blood. But yeah, I see pictures of him sometimes on the sailboat thing, like tilted and all this.
And he's hanging on and like
no.
Like Captain Joey, bro. He's a bad dude, man.
Yeah, he is.
That's just what I told him. I said, if I ever hit my big money, hit my lick, I'm gonna buy him a really nice sailboat because that's him and Sarah want to go live on a sailboat, but I'm gonna chain it to the damn dock so they can't go no damn where. You ain't leaving me, you son of a bitch. I hope you guys are getting through your week the best way you can. I always tell you, I hope you're like Teflon with the obstacles in your way. I hope you enjoyed David. I know you did because you're all car guys, and I'm sure you appreciated the realism of his story. And it's another example of a dude that just don't give up because you never know. You might hit a lick tomorrow, I tell you guys every week, I'm rooting for you. And I 100% mean that. There's room at the table for everybody for all kind of stuff. You see two guys here that are forging their own way in life, doing the things we know how to do to make money and take care of our families. And that could be you too, if it's not already. Anyways, I'm JW and I love you.